Immortal Cultivation with the chip. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: Mysterious Chip. The border between Yan Qingyi and the Eastern Wasteland. A small forest next to the campsite. From today on, stay away from the third princess, so you don't suffer too much. This is not your Jingnan Marcus mansion, understand? Chen Mo fell into the mud, his limbs aching, and he couldn't get up for a long time. He could only watch the winner walk away with a big laugh. Damn it, if it weren't for my nightmare, I would have been exhausted and my physical strength would have declined these days. Chen Mo was unwilling to give up. For 3 consecutive days, he had been repeatedly rubbed and tortured by the same nightmare. As soon as he fell asleep, Chen Mo would put on a white coat, operate various precision instruments in a dust-free secret room, and dissect mice. Even with his experience as the second son of the Jingnan Marcus mansion, he had never seen such a strange quack doctor. In the dream, Chen Mo was extremely conscious and knew he was dreaming, but he couldn't wake up, and couldn't change any of his actions, but the feeling was 100% realistic. The first half of the nightmare was just barring live dissection and strange experiments, which was bearable, but in the second half, Chen Mo had to endure inhuman pain. Bare upper body, lying flat, fixed on an operating table, unable to move even his head. Then, Chen Mo watched an allo-mechanical arm open his head, and 5 steel needles as thin as hairs were inserted from his fingertips to implant a crystal piece the size of a fingernail into the brain stem. During the whole process, Chen Mo was awake, and he felt only one word: pain. It hurt like his head was torn apart. Exclamation mark. Chen Mo could only wake up after the craniotomy was completed, and such a nightmare had lasted for 3 whole days. The nightmare, like an ulcer attached to the bone, made Chen Mo have a splitting headache from morning to night, and his consciousness was trance. Just now, he forced himself to fight with others, but he didn't last more than 3 rounds before he was hit in the face and fell to the ground. Feng Yuanyang, if you don't take revenge, you are not a gentleman. Chen Mo spitted out fragrance, struggled and tried several times, but couldn't get up. Due to the heavy blow to the face, the head hurt even more, as if it would split in half in the next second. Another wave of pain climax came, and Chen Mo could no longer bear it. His eyes went black and his consciousness became confused. Oh no, nightmare, it's coming again. After being tortured by nightmares for 3 days, Chen Mo was already experienced. Nightmares do not distinguish between naps, lunch breaks, and night sleeps. As long as Chen Mo is confused, they will come as expected. Hold on. Can't sleep. The consciousness shouted wildly, but Chen Mo, whose body was severely injured, felt that his head was getting heavier and heavier. He could no longer support it and fell into coma. The same white coat, the same cold instruments, and even the experimental mice looked exactly the same as the predecessors who died on the dissection table before. The weird thing is that the first half of this nightmare was fast-forwarded, and the familiar scenes flew by 10 frames at a time. Chen Mo felt that he had turned into a tentacle monster, with 10 fingers flying, quickly completing each high-precision scientific experiment. In the second half of the nightmare, from the moment he lay on the operating table, the 10 times slow speed button was pressed. Chen Mo's pupils dilated, and he looked at the metal mechanical arm in despair, stretching out inch by inch at a snail's pace. The helpless feeling of being unable to move, and the pain of flesh and blood being separated were also stretched tenfold. Heart-wrenching pain. Chen Mo had to endure the pain of implanting the mysterious lens. I don't know how long it took, but when Chen Mo was about to give up hope and his consciousness dissipated, his eyes lit up. The dream was shattered. I, Chen Mo, am alive and awake. The earthy smell of muddy water and the fragrance of green grass have never been so fragrant. Even the delicacies of the New Year's Eve dinner in the Hao mansion in his memory, Chen Mo asserted, could not compare to the simple taste of nature at this moment. Greedily breathing the rural atmosphere that represents being alive, Chen Mo almost wanted to cry. How many thousands of years of dreams have been gone, who knows? If it weren't for his firm willpower, Chen Mo would have been tormented by the nightmare long ago. Ling. Welcome to use the 1314th generation Hongmeng chip of Huawei Company. I wish you a pleasant use. If there are any quality problems, please call customer service 12315 for consultation. A sweet female voice suddenly sounded in Chen Mo's mind, 10 times better than the voice of the female musician of the Jiafeng division. This song should only exist in heaven, and it is rare to hear it in the world. The female voice was soft and touching, and even made Chen Mo forget the pain of the flesh. Chen Mo knew all the individual words the fairy said, but when they were put together, the meaning of this sentence, with his literary skills as the second son of the Marquis of Jingnan Mansion, he could not understand it. Is it because of too many nightmares that he has hysteria? Ling. The consumer guidance is over, the system formatting is completed, and the host Chen Mo is bound for life. The voice that sounded again turned into cold mechanical sound without a trace of emotion. The wonderful sound of the fairy in the Kyonglao before was just a foolish dream, leaving regrets. As if it understood Chen Mo's doubts, the mechanical voice paused and explained coldly, due to the influence of unknown factors such as time-space overlap, space turbulence, and black hole force fields, this chip has completed the soul binding with the host and shares Wheel and Woe. The scientific constants in the other world are abnormal. Organize the host's memory and analyze the external environment. Ling. Basic data collection is completed, and some constant calibration values are completed. Start scanning the host's body status. Then, a light blue three-dimensional model appeared in front of Chen Mo, showing his whole body in 360 degrees, with a clarity far exceeding the 1-meter-high bronze mirror in the mansion. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo saw his full appearance so clearly for the first time, and he felt quite good about himself. Tall and slender, sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, his skin color was slightly bronze due to years of martial arts training, and there was still a long way to go before he could match the icy skin of a young woman. But he showed just the right amount of masculinity, and with time and experience, his masculine charm would surely become stronger. What a playful face that attracted attention. Ling. Scan completed, host's physical fitness modeling completed. Host Chen Mo, Essence 0.3, 1.2, status, great loss of energy, unstable origin, accompanied by mild concussion, multiple soft tissue contusions on limbs and face. Attention. Facial contusions will not affect the host's handsome appearance, and will heal after proper treatment. It is recommended to take a piece of blood-removing grass orally with warm water immediately, massage the acupoints of the limbs, promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis, and treat external injuries. As for the decline of physical essence, it is a natural phenomenon of the fusion of the chip and soul. Please take wild ginseng, wolfberry, black fungus and thyme. Attention, essence is the strength of the physical body, which is calculated by taking the weighted values of explosive power, endurance, recovery, vitality, etc. 0.5 is the highest level of ordinary adult men in this time and space. The chip finally spoke human words, and Chen Mo understood most of it. At this time, he found that his head was no longer so painful, and the sequelae of the nightmare disappeared. Except for the weakness of the body and a few external injuries, it was no longer a big deal. Gritting his teeth and exerting force, he finally struggled to stand up. Ling. Guide to using the transport chip. Chen Mo's head sank. A lot of information was stuffed into it. After digesting it for a while, he finally figured out the mysterious chip that appeared in his mind. Due to unknown reasons, this high-tech chip, implanted in dreams, strangely became Chen Mo's second brain, and his soul merged. The chip has no entity. Even though it was implanted in Chen Mo's brainstem in a dream, it was scanned 3 times repeatedly, and the generated human body model did not show the existence of the chip, proving that it has merged with a host's soul and body and become a part of Chen Mo's soul. The chip has only 3 functions. First, data storage. According to the host's instructions, it can collect various types of data to form a database, and transmit it to Chen Mo as needed. The effect is that you will never forget it and you will learn it once you learn it. In this way, the most tedious and boring memory, collection, and integration process is directly eliminated, making Chen Mo's learning ability completely crush the so-called genius who can read 10 lines at a glance and memorize everything. The human brain is sometimes exhausted. Chen Mo's smart brain learns for you. Second, analysis and deduction. Data is wealth, which needs to be mined and processed to produce value. The chip can complete tasks such as big data optimization, analysis, and hypothesis reasoning based on the existing database, and can perform multiple tasks simultaneously, which can be regarded as an advanced think tank. Third, daily assistance. Through the host's 5 senses, shape, sound, smell, taste, and touch, that is, vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, data is collected, and the optimal solution is given to assist the host to better engage in combat and scientific research. Chapter 2, Martial Arts? Path to Immortality. Chen Mo, who was beaten by his rival, dragged his weak body back to the camp, but found that the boys and girls around him glanced at him coldly and avoided him as if he were a plague god. There were also whispers of gloating in his ears. Look! This is the second son of the Marquis of Jingnan Mansion in the neighboring Jinan Kingdom. Not long ago, their emperor just issued an order to marry the third princess to him. He was beaten so badly. Poor Marquis of Jingnan is famous in all countries. He is a 7th-rank martial artist and a battlefield warrior who can transform his energy into yang. His second son turned out to be such a useless martial artist who can't even tie up a girl. Oh. A tiger father and a dog son. I am really ashamed to join the overseas Immortal Gate with this person. Fortunately, the Immortal Gate does not allow slaves, guards, and family elders to follow all the way, otherwise I really don't know that he, Chen Mo, is a useless waste with a golden appearance and rotten cotton inside. Chen Mo ignored these gossiping peers and quietly went to the center of the camp to collect food. The person distributing lunch was a gray-robed man who was wrapped tightly from head to toe. The gray-robed man raised his head slightly, glanced at Chen Mo coldly, and did not ask about the bruises on his face. He threw a pancake with stuffing the size of a human face. Alarm! Alarm! Dangerous creatures detected. It is recommended that the host stay at least a kilometer away. The data of the gray-robed man appeared in front of Chen Mo. Gray-robed man, Essence 8.3, high risk. The Essence data crushed him, and he estimated that he could be crushed to death with just one finger. Chen Mo did not dare to look at it anymore, and hurriedly bowed his head, respectfully saluted the gray-robed man, took the pancake and ran away. There were a total of 20 teenagers in the camp, who were good seedlings that the gray-robed man had found after traveling around the countries. Most of them came from martial arts and scholarly families, were around 12 years old, and had the qualifications of Kigen practitioners. The gray-robed man would lead them to the overseas Immortal Gates, so he was also called the Immortal Path Guide. Chen Mo recalled the night talk between father and son before leaving home, the underground secret room of Jingnan Marquis Mansion. His biological father, Chen Dingman, who had been stationed in the southern border of Jinan State for more than 10 years and was notorious for his evil deeds, showed a rare fatherly smile and told his second son, who had just been tested for his aptitude as a Kigen practitioner, with satisfaction, "Maer, since your great-grandfather was awarded a title for his military merits and stationed in the southern border, 4 generations of Chen family warriors have finally produced a smart seed of cultivation like you. You must win honor for our Chen family. When you have successfully trained your Kigen, you can dethrone the old emperor of the capital and replace him with the Jingnan Marquis." The hearty laughter of the old father shook the walls of the secret room slightly. In the 12 years since he was a child, this was the first time that Chen Mo saw his serious father laugh so happily. "Good boy, remember, martial arts have an end, and human power is sometimes limited. But for those who eat Qi, gods are immortal, and only the immortal path is the right way. When you arrive at the overseas Immortal Gate, you must focus on practicing Qi. Martial arts practice, slow down if you can." In order to increase persuasiveness, Chen Dingman gave an example. The Kigen practitioners who can't make it overseas and return to Jinan Kingdom are all useless immortals with poor qualifications. But if they have a good talisman, even if they are a battlefield warrior of the 5th grade divine power realm, they can easily behead them from 100 steps away. Martial arts are divided into 9 grades, with the 1st grade of health preservation being the lowest and the 9th grade of Shineman being the highest. A martial artist of the 5th grade of divine power has 1,000 pounds of strength and is as strong as a galloping horse. He is already a martial arts master. Even if he is placed in the 100,000 Jingnan army, he can serve as a general commanding tens of thousands of people. If he is placed in the Jinan Kingdom with 1,000,000 armored soldiers, he can also be regarded as a senior general. But a 5th grade divine power warrior, with a distance, has no power to fight back against a Kigen practitioner's 100-step flying sword. The power of the Kigen practitioner is so terrifying. Chen Dingman casually shot out an invisible energy, leaving a mark several inches deep on the wall of the secret room, and further explained, "Your father, I have practiced martial arts for a lifetime, and I have barely reached the 7th level of condensed energy. Although I am known for my ability to kill people with my breath and my 100-step magic fist, These are just ordinary people who have never seen a Kigin practitioner in action, and they are just exaggerating after drinking. The power of my external energy is really more than 100 steps, but it is like a spent crossbow, unable to penetrate a thin silk cloth, and is not as good as a Kigin practitioner's ability to fly a sword 100 steps and take people's heads. Chen Mo thought for a moment and asked a tricky question, then father, who will win if you fight against a Kigin practitioner with talismans? Chen Dingman's black face rarely turned red, and he slapped his second son on the head and taught him a lesson in a rough voice. Oh, can an ordinary Kigin practitioner compare to me? The tuition fee for your admission to the immortal sect, 10 spirit stones, was robbed by your father from an old Kigin practitioner from the royal family of Yan country. Although Chen Dingman looked very proud, he did not take out half of the talisman trophies to give to himself for self-defense. Chen Mo's eyes turned and he guessed that his father was no match for the talisman cultivator. If you are not good at kung fu, you must be ruthless when you speak. Otherwise, with his father's arrogant temper, he will definitely snatch a talisman back to play with and show off in front of his own son. Chen Mo saw through it but did not say it, otherwise it would be a meal of bamboo shoots and fried meat. At the same time, he also understood why the old emperor would marry his favorite third princess to himself. This is selling a daughter to protect the country. If there is no marriage, I am afraid that the third princess, who has just been detected to have the talent of a key cultivator, will be robbed of the Taishan spirit stone by my father with his troops before leaving the capital. This is a dirty Guanbao deal. The old emperor used the princess and the prince consort to become disciples of the Immortal Gate together as a bargaining chip in exchange for the powerful Jingnan Marcus, who is unscrupulous in slapping the royal family not to Fengshan Jingnan immediately. Of course, his father was also afraid of the Immortal Path leaders' dissatisfaction with the murderers and treasure snatchers, as well as the desperate counterattack of the Yan Kingdom's royalists. Therefore, although he coveted the 10 spiritual stones in the hands of the third princess, he also agreed to the marriage settlement plan. Mayer, remember, after you set off, you must always suppress the royal girl and eat her to death, so that she can't turn over in the Immortal Gate. Half of the incense of the old Chen family depends on you. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. His father's earnest teachings were still ringing in his ears. Chen Mo ate the hard pancakes and kneaded the wounds on his limbs, but he smiled bitterly. Alice, before I could even get enough of being a consort, I was unlucky enough to encounter a nightmare. My essence collapsed from 1.2 to 0.3. Otherwise, with my first-class health preservation and proficiency in archery and horsemanship, how could I be defeated by a few sons of nobles? As soon as the eligible and qualified immortal cultivators of Yan country stepped out of the border, they acted as flower protectors and started to make trouble, targeting the prospective consort Chen Mo everywhere. The dandies of neighboring countries were also happy to watch the excitement and fan the flames. Finally, under the leadership of Fan Yuanyang, the son of the Grand Sima of Yan country, a group of rivals boldly challenged Chen Mo, who grew up in the military camp, and happened to run into his weak period of nightmares and a sharp drop in strength, and humiliated him. Chip, optimize the Chen family's ancestral skills, the Black Turtle Locking Essence Sutra. Task established, estimated time. 6 hours and 32 minutes. The pale blue light in Chen Mo's eyes was looming, and only he could see it. The chip called up the data stream that surged like a waterfall, and began to analyze and deduce, tailoring a martial arts technique according to Chen Mo's physique. Ling. Call up the Bo Kung Fu, Fu Long Jin, and the boy's golden body. Remove the dross and keep the essence. Chen Mo's three-dimensional model of the body also started to work, and successively performed the movements of 2 dragons going out to sea, a boy sitting on a lotus, and a bull lifting a tripod. Some of the little people were halfway through their practice, but unfortunately their blood and ki collapsed, and they vomited blood and died. Some practiced for a long time, but their blood and ki dissipated, and they had to practice again, and some even practiced for 360 days, but they did not improve their essence at all. Chen Mo was not in a hurry, avoiding the crowd, choosing a remote corner, and chewing the pancake slowly. Ling. Active factors have been detected. Eating 9 pancakes of the same type in a row can increase 0.1 essence. After eating 20 times, the host will produce antibodies, and the pancakes will only have the effect of filing the stomach. The chip supports multitasking, so when the optimization of the technique is transferred to the background, it will not affect the daily task of real-time monitoring of the external environment. The gray-robed man took 10 spirit stones from me. The food is really good. Even in the Marcus mansion, you can't eat such a pancake to replenish essence. Not knowing what kind of meat filling was inside, Chen Mo's teeth ached when he chewed it, but in order to recover his physical strength quickly, he gritted his teeth and swallowed it. The gray-robed man was said to be just an outer disciple of the overseas immortal sect, but he could make such a magical pancake that was large in quantity, filling, and slightly increased essence. This tip of the iceberg made Chen Mo have a deep understanding of the power of the overseas immortal sect, and began to look forward to the day when he could practice Qi and cultivate immortality. Chapter 30. Woman. My dear, are you okay? A pretty young lady in a fluttering white dress patted Chen Mo's shoulder and came up to him with concern. Her almond eyes were slightly red, and she felt very sympathetic to the embarrassed boy who was eating pancakes miserably. Her chest was slightly bulging, but her waist was twisted beautifully, with a graceful and delicate posture. She was dressed beautifully, with a faint fragrance, and a tearful look, which turned the steel into softness. It's all my fault. It was Feng Yuanyang who was jealous of my father for betrothing me to my dear, so I suffered this physical pain. Once we leave Jinan Kingdom, the titles of the Marquisate and the royal family are useless. I dare not speak out to stop them, otherwise they will only beat me more fiercely, and you, my dear, will suffer. The person who came was Chu Zijin, the third princess of Jinan Kingdom, to whom Chen Mo had just been engaged. Ling. The bitch is just being pretentious. Her heartbeat is speeding up, her cheeks are slightly red, her eyes are flickering, and her pulse is 120/minute. As a princess, she calls herself a singer from the Imperial Music Bureau. The suspicion of her lying is 91%. Please be vigilant, host. Chen Mo's eyes condensed, and he glanced at Chu Zijin, who was in tears, but he couldn't tell that the woman was acting. He simply lowered his head to eat the pancake, pretending to be sulking. Don't be angry, dear brother. It's not worth getting yourself hurt. I feel so bad. I managed to avoid the eyes of Feng Yuanyang, that pervert. To make a long story short, this bottle of royal tendon and bone setting ointment, dear brother, take it and apply it externally. The external injuries will be healed in less than 3 days. My dear brother, since I have promised my heart to you, I will be yours for the rest of my life. You are the legitimate son of Marcus Jingnan. Take care of your wounds and make Feng Yuanyang pay for his blood debt with blood. Chu Zijin stuffed the jade bottle into Chen Mo's hand. Without saying much, he smiled sadly, left a cent behind, and floated away. When this woman gave the jade bottle to the host, her green jade fingers scratched the host's palm slightly. She had ulterior motives and the suspicion of lying increased to 95.5%. Chen Mo pouted and opened the jade stopper, only to smell a refreshing fragrance. Ling. Harmful ingredients to the human body have been found, and a simulation experiment has been established. The experiment is over. The ingredients of the royal tendon-forming and bone-setting ointment are as follows. 10.1% septicemia seeds, 5.3% tobacco essence, 20% hemp powder. If applied externally to wounds, the wound will heal in 3 days, but the qi and blood will decline day by day, and there is no hope for the recovery of the essence. After 100 days, the probability of death is 32%. Chen Mo stroked the crystal clear and smooth jade bottle with his fingers, and looked at the figure of his fiancée going away, and laughed, the mouth of a bamboo snake and the needle on the tail of a wasp. Both are not poisonous, but the daughter's heart is the most poisonous. It seems that I am still too kind. Just pulling your father off the throne cannot repay your daughter's heart. In fact, even without the reminder of the chip, Chen Mo would not apply Chu Zijin's ointment externally. You know, the Jingnan Marquis's mansion never uses royal gifts. Every year, the reward sent by the capital will be thrown directly into the toilet by his father. Ling. Take half a spoonful of the royal raw tendon and bone setting ointment, mix it with the blood-removing grass and yuba, and take it orally to accelerate the recovery of essence. I wanted to throw it away, but I didn't expect the chip to give me a better solution. Just as the pancake was finished, Chen Mo walked out of the camp carefully, letting the chip maintain a maximum warning distance of 100 meters to find the necessary medicine. The treatment prescriptions provided by the chip are all the best solutions for the current situation. With the help of the search auxiliary function, Chen Mo only fumbled around in the nearby grove 3 times and gathered these common ingredients. Not disliking the disgusting smell of yuba, Chen Mo gritted his teeth and took a bite, then applied the ointment to the blood-removing grass leaves and swallowed them together. As soon as it entered the stomach, The effect of the medicine was immediate. A stream of heat rushed down the throat and turned into a blazing fire in the dantian, which was hot and comfortable. Essence Recovery 0.1. It is recommended to stretch the muscles and bones to improve the absorption efficiency. A long-lost sense of power. Chen Mo let out a suppressed roar, very excited. Young Marcus, what are you yelling about? A drake voice came from behind an ancient tree. The owner of the voice was Feng Yuanyang's #1 lackey, Na Yuan. His nose moved slightly, and he smelled a rotten stench, and he almost vomited. When he saw the remaining half of the bean curd in Chen Mo's hand, he grinned exaggeratedly as if he had discovered a new continent, and said sarcastically, "Why, Feng Yuanyang robbed all your rations and health pills, and you are so hungry that you come here to dig for food. A mere bean curd, even a wild dog can't eat it, it's hard for the young Marcus. Otherwise, I will reward you with half a pancake." The Nai family is considered a royalist faction. In the court, they closely follow the footsteps of the Sima Fang family and oppose the Jingnan Marcus mansion everywhere. Chen Dingman once said that sooner or later, he would blow open the gates of the capital and destroy the 10 clans of the two families. The scars on Chen Mo's limbs are also caused by Na Yuan. He went out for a stroll and unexpectedly ran into Chen Mo. Looking around, he found no one and no dog, so he took the opportunity to humiliate the young Marcus who had lost all his martial arts skills and satisfy his desire to train a nobleman alone. Ling. Na Yuan, Essence 0.5, Danger Factor, Road Blocking Little Ant. The combat auxiliary function of the chip was turned on. With the dynamic capture technology, Chen Mo knew every move of Na Yuan and gave a defeat rate of less than 2%. Slide 30 centimeters to the left, punch with the right fist, and hit the target's left armpit. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Following the indicated route, Chen Mo stepped slightly sideways and easily avoided Na Yuan's sneak attack. How could it be? You were still a dead dog lying on the ground this morning. Na Yuan had a vicious mind. He attacked Chen Mo's face without even saying hello, but Chen Mo had foreseen it and dodged it. He didn't even get a piece of his clothes. He was dumbfounded and forgot what to do next. Chen Mo was not polite. He seized the opportunity and used his right arm to hit Na Yuan's left arm joint. Although it was half crooked because he had not yet adapted to his gradually recovered physical strength, it still temporarily disabled one of Na Yuan's arms. "I'll kill you while you're sick." Chen Mo punched hard, and his punches hit the flesh. His fists rained down on Na Yuan's upper body, hitting him so hard that he cried for his parents. He hugged his head and curled up in the mud, becoming a human sandbag to help Chen Mo stretch his muscles and digest the medicine. He exhaled the turbid air in his chest, and the depression from his previous defeat was dissipated by a little. After calling up the chip, Chen Mo found that his essence had also recovered to 0.6, and most of the medicine in his stomach had been digested. He moved his muscles and bones with satisfaction. The crackling sound of his muscles and bones frightened Na Yuan so much that he begged for mercy. "My young Marcus, I was wrong. Please be merciful and let me go. I promise to keep my mouth shut about what happened today." Chen Mo originally wanted to destroy the body, but he was worried that the gray-robed man who called the roll every night would find out that there were fewer people and cause trouble for him, so he had to let Na Yuan go and sighed slightly. Once you enter the immortal path, the secular power, status, and money of Jinayan are no longer counted. I'm afraid that in the eyes of the immortal disciples, our batch of immortal seeds are no different from the sons of common people. Along the way, the gray-robed man, apart from calling the roll, distributing pancakes, and shouting to set off and rest, was alone in the carriage, and no one knew what he was doing. This made many wealthy and noble sons and daughters who had been treated like stars since childhood hate him, but no one dared to resist his authority. Before setting off, the gray-robed man smashed the millstone rock with a punch, which was so powerful that everyone was terrified. In Chen Mo's memory, his father could only achieve the same effect with a punch without using the energy 5 years ago when he was at his peak. And Chen Dingman's martial arts strength of the 7th grade condensed energy is already the top force among the countries, otherwise he would not be able to establish his own regime as a Marcus. Young Marcus, I want to expose the affair between the third princess and Fang Yuanyang. Looking at Chen Mo's elegant back as he left, Na Yuan came up with a vicious plan to drive the tiger to devour the wolf. Chapter 4 Internal Breath. I believe in Zijin. His strength has not yet recovered, so he has to live in fear. Now is not the time to seek revenge on Fang Yuanyang. Chen Mo did not ask questions and left resolutely. Na Yuan, who was lying on the ground, still wanted to deceive the crowd with lies. Chen Mo threw the half-sliced bean curd in his hand and stuffed it into his mouth tightly, deep into his throat. The strong stench rushed over, and Na Yuan, who had been spoiled since childhood, couldn't catch his breath. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. Chen Mo really took out half a pancake from Na Yuan's arms, said no need for your charity, I'll take it myself, and floated away. The episode in the grove did not attract anyone's attention at all. Chen Mo was so happy that he hid in the most dilapidated carriage alone, closed his eyes and rested, and restored his essence. For several days, Chen Mo took advantage of the time to set up camp and went deep into the grove alone, searching for various vegetation and small creatures, and taking medicine to restore his essence. Pah, it's so bitter. Chen Mo spat out an unknown four-legged lizard the length of his little finger. In just a few seconds, his tongue was completely numb. A new subspecies of reptiles was discovered, named cocaine lizard. Its flesh and blood contain mild paralysis. Consuming 6,666 of them continuously can increase your essence by 0.01. Chen Mo sighed and gave up on this ordinary creature that had no medicinal value. Plants and animals containing active factors are extremely rare. After tasting hundreds of herbs, Chen Mo didn't find many. He chose an open space and sat cross-legged. Compared to the original version, the function is improved by 50%, the probability of going crazy is reduced to 5%, and it can also accelerate nutrient absorption. Running a maximum of 10 cycles a day can increase your essence by 0.01. The higher the essence, the lower the increase value. After the blood circulated through a large cycle, Chen Mo felt a sense of restlessness in his lower abdomen and was full of energy. The chip also showed, host Chen Mo, essence 1.4, status, healthy. After using up more than half a bottle of royal poison, Chen Mo's cultivation was fully restored, and with the nourishment of various exotic flowers and herbs in the past few days, he made an additional 0.2. To put it bluntly, the first-class health-preserving realm for warriors is to keep the body energetic through regular work and rest, balanced diet, and the enhanced version of the Chen family tradition, which is overwhelming in this regard. Nutrition only enters but does not go out, so Chen Mo's essence is improved very quickly. Drip. 3 inches below the navel, the blood and qi are washed back and forth 12 times, and the probability of nurturing internal breath is 71%. With rich essence, Chen Mo plans to break through to become a second-class qi-sensing warrior today. According to the scientific calculations of the chip, the success rate of the breakthrough is already very high at this time. Chen Mo did not hesitate at all, took out a piece of blood-red clover that had been prepared long ago, and swallowed it into his stomach. It is called blood-burning grass. For a first-class health-preserving warrior, it is a fierce medicine. If taken improperly, the blood and qi will boil, and the essence will flow backwards, which will be life-threatening. However, the dosage given by the chip is just close to the limit that Chen Mo's body can bear, and it has become the best auxiliary medicine for breaking through the realm. Everything is calculated. The host's adrenaline surges, simulating the root of blood and qi. The boiling blood and qi rushed through the meridians, but Chen Mo was not panicked at all. He followed the three-dimensional model outlined by the chip in his mind and restrained the blood and qi to move forward. After only 9 times of carrying, Damchen appeared out of nothing, and a cloud of white mist rose up, curling and lingering. Looking inside, it actually formed the phantom of a turtle. Internal breath detected, analysis begins. Data modeling completed. For the convenience of statistics, the standards are set as follows: internal breath, the gaseous high-energy substance in the body of a warrior, is obtained through the sublimation of essence, and the corresponding value is calculated according to the concentration per cubic centimeter. Internal breath 0.5 is the highest level of ordinary adult men in this time and space. Chen Mo's data also changed. Host Chen Mo, essence 0.7, internal breath 0.8, 0.4 is the natural internal breath, and the remaining 0.4 is converted from the lost 0.7 essence. Status, anemia. The conversion ratio of essence to internal breath is 7:4, not bad. Chen Mo's face turned slightly pale, and he could feel the half-filled internal breath in his danshan, and he was very satisfied. The Black Turtle Sutra is indeed an optimized product after the chip has learned from many advantages. Although the efficiency of refining essence into gas and producing internal breath has not reached the terrifying 1:1, It has outperformed 2-1, which is considered a first-class skill. The threshold for a second-grade key sensing warrior is expected to be 2 essence and 2 internal breath. Both hands must be strong, and the host still needs to work hard. The cold voice of the chip poured cold water on Chen Mo's head. Although I am still a second-grade parallel import now, I have crossed the most difficult level, feeling the blood and nurturing the internal breath. Next, it's just one word: eat. Chen Mo was not discouraged, stood up, and returned to the camp. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Instead, his steps were light, and he felt that as long as the internal breath of the Danshan moved, he could take off with the wind, and his state was better than ever. Chen Mo, you are a weak shrimp, you can't give Zijin happiness, break the engagement. With a loud shout, the Jinayan group headed by Fang Yuanian came towards him. Na Yuan held behind the young master Fang, showing his head, staring at Chen Mo viciously. Let's see how you jump this time. After laughing, Na Yuan bowed his head and listed Chen Mo's crimes to Fang Yuaniang, Mr. Fang, this kid is still thief-minded. Last night, I saw him secretly harassing the third princess. I caught him and beat me up. You have to take care of me. As he said that, Na Yuan also lifted the hem of his shirt to show the bruises. The 4 people selected by Jinayan country, except Chu Zijin, have all arrived. The immortals in the entire camp were attracted by the big commotion and surrounded them. Due to the days of rushing on the road, everyone was very bored, and the jealous peach storm naturally could not be missed. At this time, the origins of different people can also be seen. Those who are not top-level rich and powerful young men all stood silently at the outside, stretching their necks to watch the excitement, but dare not talk nonsense. Those who are of the same level of nobles and royal families in neighboring countries stood in the innermost circle. There were 3 crazy bees and butterflies who were attracted by Chu Zijin's pure white lotus style. They took the initiative to stand behind Fang Yuaniang, with their hands folded in front of their chests, and united to deal with Chen Mo, the temporary public enemy in the field of love. There were also 2 pairs of beautifully dressed, fair-skinned young sisters in the boudoir. Seeing these stinky men's lustful appearance, they spat and secretly cursed Chu Zijin, a flower fox pretending to be a white lotus. After a half-incensed stick of confrontation, all the boys and girls were present except Chu Zijin, one of the parties involved in the divorce. Fang Yuaniang smiled in the corners of his eyes. This time, he must make Waste Chen famous in all countries. Beside the campfire in the camp, a bronze-skinned boy who was half squatting on the mud and biting on the dinner pancake with big mouthfuls also stopped eating with interest and looked up to watch the show. While carefully licking the pancake crumbs left on his fingertips, Chen Mo's face was pale, and he looked like a brothel 13 night 13 who indulged in excessive sexual desire and gave away everything he knew. As the 8th prince of the neighboring Yunlin royal family, Sun Wutong was not a lazy person who only knew how to eat pancakes. He gradually saw the clues. His sight drifted to Chen Mo's half-dipped heels. It seemed that as long as he lightly tapped his toes, he could jump 10 meters away. Sun Wutong's pupils shrank slightly and he was shocked. My goodness, he is worthy of being the offspring of Jing and Marcus. He is so fierce in refining his essence into Qi that he almost drained himself. Sun Wutong also entered the realm of second-grade Qi sense and urgently needed to replenish his essence. Therefore, he looked for food everywhere like a vicious tiger. If he could not beat the gray-robed man, he would definitely eat up all the pancakes. Therefore, when he saw that Chen Mo was exactly the same as himself when he just broke through, empty on the outside and strong on the inside, he understood everything, and also imagined the reason why Chen Mo was bullied by Fang Yuanian before. Langmi, I admire you. Your physical strength has dropped greatly, and you are even bullied by the scoundrels. This perseverance and willpower to fight is far inferior to mine. Chapter 50, Men. Break off the engagement? Fang Yuaniang, why don't you go talk to my dad? Chen Mo laughed out loud, waved his hand, and asked Fang Yuaniang to say it again. Brother Fang, you can't tolerate it. The lesson you gave him last time hasn't made this kid realize the cruel reality. This is not the Marquis of Jingnin's mansion. You can only fight for yourself, not your father. Brother Fang, if you are so tolerant, Your Highness the third princess, I will have to steal your love. The 3 princes of other countries who were cheering for Fang Yuaniang were not happy, and they squeezed their teammates first. Humph. What a joke, I sent him to the ground last time. Fang Yuaniang waved his sleeves disdainfully, strode forward, And with a shout of sword, Na Yuan handed over a blue steel sword. The sword body was engraved with delicate dragon patterns, which was flashy, but with Feng Yuanyang's handsome appearance, he was more favored by girls than Chen Mo. Chen Mo thought, it seems that when Chu Zijin looks for a love rival to fight, he has to pick someone with a white face. The sharp blade was unsheathed, and a cold light flashed. Feng Yuanyang shook his wrist and danced 3 sword flowers, saying proudly, "The emperor bestowed the imperial sword, which is specially used to kill the dandy boys in the capital. Today, I, Feng Yuanyang, will help Her Royal Highness the Princess to get rid of you, the scourge." Under the dynamic vision, Chen Mo saw through the 3 sword flowers at a glance. It was just a trick played by Feng Yuanyang relying on the lightness of the big sword. Ling. Feng Yuanyang, Essence 1.1, Internal Breath 0.2. Not in the 2nd grade, no internal breath condensed. 0.2 is only a theoretical value and cannot be used. Danger level, health conscious fat otaku, scum. Even the chip looked down on Feng Yuanyang. "Oh, so you are the captain of the ward inspection team in the capital. I have heard of you for a long time." Chen Mo's teasing tore apart Mr. Fang's pretentious attitude. His eyes became vicious and he stopped talking nonsense. The sword came out like a dragon, and 3 sword flowers went straight to Chen Mo's lower 3 roads. Ling. The left and right are all illusions, the sword goes in the middle. The chip also considerably mosaicked the phantom of the sword flowers in Chen Mo's sight. Without dodging, Chen Mo directly passed through 2 virtual flowers, and then slightly turned sideways to let the 3rd real flower pass. How is it possible? The onlookers whispered. If it were them, they would have been dazzled by the combination of virtual and real sword flowers, and pierced their chests with a sword. Feng Yuanyang's eyes glowed red, and he even forgot his best sword skills. He directly used the imperial sword as a fire stick and swung it towards Chen Mo's handsome face. The big sword had no rules. Under the guidance of the chip, Chen Mo moved forward and backward freely, passing through the sword flowers without getting a single leaf on his body. Like a monkey, he made Feng Yuanyang breathless and his anger burned. "It's over." Chen Mo sighed and mobilized the 2 strands of internal energy in his danshan and injected them into his legs. As expected, it was a high-end energy with a mass higher than that of essence. After using only 0.1 of the internal energy, Chen Mo felt his whole body lighten and rushed out like a rock. Feng Yuanyang had already run out of strength. His eyes blurred and a point in his lower abdomen was kicked hard. He flew out on the clouds and hit Na Yuan. The 2 rolled on the ground like gourds. "Huh? You can still hold on, Chen Mo, come again." Feng Yuanyang kicked Na Yuan, who was lying on him, away, his face flushed, and challenged him again. "The East Factory of Jinan Country needs talent like you. With your father's reputation, you can get a factory owner at the age of 15. Chen Mo did not accept the challenge and talked about other things. "Mr. Feng, it's so wet." Behind him, Na Yuan pointed at Feng Yuanyang's trouser legs, which were stained with a pool of unknown liquid. When the cold wind blew, Feng Yuanyang felt a chill in his lower body. "Little Feng, if you don't massage the acupoints in your lower abdomen, you can only switch to practicing the sunflower manual." Chen Mo kindly reminded, "Leave your belongings when you leave." No matter how much hatred he felt in his heart, Feng Yuanyang could only pinch his nose and admit it. He was not as skilled as others. If he lost his masculine power again, even if he got the princess back, he would still have to be a cheap concubine in the end. Health pills, half a pancake, purple gold ingots, night shining pearls. Chen Mo counted for a long time, but couldn't find even half a spiritual stone. Sure enough, this kind of rare thing used exclusively by Kigan practitioners was not something a small Sima could get. Perhaps, in order to fight against my father, Feng Yuanyang still accepted royal funding to make up the tuition. Chen Mo thought about it and felt that Feng Yuanyang's repeated targeting was not only due to the provocation of White Lotus, but also from the court's policy of reducing the power of the vassal. Royalists, don't cut off your master's kingdom. After collecting the spoils, Chen Mo glanced at the 3 neighboring dandies with ill intentions, scaring them to clamp their legs and cover their faces awkwardly. Obviously, the 2nd-grade aura is enough to suppress the entire camp. I was confused for a moment. Young Marcus, please understand, Na Yuan lost his backbone, his legs were so weak that he couldn't move, and he could only lie on the ground and beg for mercy. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. However, Chen Mo was too lazy to step on the villains who didn't have oil and water. I am He Tingting, the daughter of the Minister of Revenue of Yunlin State. I am here to meet the young Marcus. A beautifully dressed and fair-skinned noblewoman from a neighboring country moved lightly and bowed to Chen Mo, which was a bit exotic. Chen Mo touched his nose to hide his embarrassment. In order to practice martial arts, he had never even touched the hands of the maids in the mansion. Young Marcus, you are engaged, why are you so shy? He Tingting covered her lips and glared at Chen Mo in a reproachful way. You know he's my man, but you still don't retreat. With a delicate rebuke, Chu Zijin's warm and delicate body came up with a fragrant breeze. The last person who broke off the engagement finally arrived late. Chen Lang, I was worried to death. Fang Yuanyang's 3 swords were too scary. Chu Zijin's eyes were slightly red, and he looked up at Chen Mo in admiration. Then, like a cat protecting its food, his phoenix eyes stared at He Tingting coldly. After all, she was born in the royal family, and she was so powerful without being angry that the daughter of the Minister of Revenue retreated. I can't complain. This woman has superb acting skills and a 97.4% lying rate. Chen Mo was not an animal dominated by her lower body. She was not confused. Instead, she teased the kitten in her arms and stabbed her. Zijin, thanks to the bone-setting ointment you sent, my injuries have healed in just 3 days. The truth made Chu Zijin almost unable to hold back her expression of worrying about her lover. As she spoke, Chen Mo's 10 fingers moved, causing Chu Zijin's pretty face to blush slightly, but she was trapped in the clutches of the devil and dared not struggle. I suffered from the pain of the foreign skin and flesh before, and now I'm collecting some interest. There's nothing wrong with that. Chen Mo looked at the 3rd princess in her arms who seemed to have accepted her fate, and smiled coldly. As long as her fist is big enough, the fox spirit's sweet words can be broken with one punch. Please let go of your hands. Under 14 years old, you will be warned for 3 years. Due to unknown reasons, the chip's own database only had a bunch of literature, history, philosophy and law materials, which were of no use to martial arts and immortality. It was difficult for the chip to find such a clause to restrain Chen Mo's dirty hands. Because of human rights and legal reasons, the chip has no intelligence, but its cold voice still dampened Chen Mo's interest, and he let go of the little white rabbit awkwardly. Stinky man, you got it for free. I want to see if you can still be so arrogant after 100 days. Chu Zijin escaped from the clutches of the devil, but did not dare to turn his face. She silently recited the self-cultivation of the princess and stuck to Chen Mo tightly, at least not to let the coquettish bitch outside take advantage of her. Through the chip's deduction, Chen Mo also understood most of the little girl's secret thoughts, just as a seasoning for the boring journey, just for fun. Talk less, do more. Hey, Chip, don't repeat the civil law regulations. I have memorized the death penalty. Chapter 6 Lion Explosion, so brilliant. Let me introduce myself to you, Sun Wutong, a 2nd-rank warrior. The sturdy Sun Wutong stretched out his hand. When they shook hands, Chen Mo felt the other's rough hand full of strength. Sun Wutong, 2nd-rank Key Sense, Essence 1.1, Internal Breath 1.1, Status, Mild Anemia. As expected of a Yunlin young dragon, amazing. As soon as the expert shook hands, Chen Mo knew that his cultivation was temporarily inferior to that of the other party. However, the chip gave an 83% chance of winning in a life and death game, so his momentum was not weak at all, which made Sun Wutong look at him with a higher opinion. Chen Mo, when you are in the overseas immortal sect, don't mention the secular name anymore. If your fellow disciples hear it, it will only make you a laughingstock. Sun Wutong's words revealed that I have a lot of dry goods, but he hesitated to speak and touched his shriveled stomach. Chen Mo then took out half of the pancake he had just snatched, and they each took half to replenish their essence. Let's get started. I didn't misjudge you. The so-called Immortal Gate is actually. With Sun Wutong's introduction, Chen Mo had a vague understanding of the destination of the journey. The overseas Immortal Gate is located in the western part of a vast land thousands of miles away, named Xianfang Continent, which means the sky is round and the earth is square, the center of the world. The natives of Xianfang call the foreign land where Jinayan and Yunlin are located as subcontinent. As for the prefix of subcontinent, they are too lazy to remember. Among the new blood who worship into the Immortal Gate, the 2nd generation of cultivators from the family of Kigan practitioners are the mainstream. In the eyes of the 2nd generation of cultivators, the new blood from the subcontinent is the same as the sons of the common people in Xianfang. If they encounter some extreme localists, they will fall to the bottom of the contempt chain. Chen Mo, when we get to the Immortal Gate, we, the little friends who came from the subcontinent, must support each other. Sun Wutong swallowed the pancake with a wry smile, pointed at the other people in the camp, and said disdainfully, "Look at these people, they still put on the airs of secular nobles. If they don't restrain themselves when they get to the Immortal Gate, they will suffer a lot." The spiritual stone tuition fees they accumulated are the result of the efforts of more than a dozen generations. Since there have been no disciples from the Immortal Gate in recent years, there is not much left about the Xianfang continent. Chen Mo turned to Chu Zijin and asked curiously, "Zijin, isn't your elder a Qigong practitioner?" "Oh, Brother Chen, you're wrong. The old man was just lucky. When he was young, he dug up a Qigong practitioner's tomb, and then he cultivated a half-baked Qigong to the 3rd or 4th level. In fact, he has never even been to the various countries. However, your father is also amazing. He was able to kill that person at close range. Although his combat power is weak, his means of escaping are varied and famous among the various countries." The unscrupulous conversation between the two made Chu Zijin's pretty face slightly red. Although the dead old man was not close to her, the face of the royal family could not be hit. "I'm sorry, Zijin, my father got confused and hit a little too hard." Chen Mo added another knife. "Brother Chen, the cavalry is about to enter the eastern wasteland. This is the last section before going out to sea. We must help each other. Unless the wolf bandits kill too many new blood, the leader will not take action." Chu Zijin, who was originally angry and wanted to leave, heard this, leaned on Chen Mo like a little bird, and sighed, "I don't blame you for the old man's matter. It was my father who was wrong. He refused to give even a dowry of 10 spirit stones. No matter what, as long as the two of us arrive at the Immortal Gate safely, it's fine." A woman's face, a June sky. Chen Mo didn't promise, and he hummed and hawed to deal with it. The cavalry entered the eastern wasteland. What came into view was only low bushes and a yellow sky, which was extremely depressing. The road is flat, a good place for cavalry to run rampant. No wonder there are so many wolf bandits. Chen Mo and Sun Wutong acted as grooms, chatting to pass the time, and Chu Zijin stopped contacting many losers these days, following Chen Mo and staying in the carriage at the back. It was hard to travel. The gray-robed man only distributed pancakes, called the roll, rested and gave departure instructions, and took care of the horses, drove, and set up camp, all by himself. Therefore, Chen Mo did not collect much food, and barely reached essence 1.4, internal breath 1.4 inches. The carriage in front suddenly stopped, and the two stepped forward to investigate. "Look, what a big golden lion king, how did it die? What a beautiful mane, if it is peeled off and made into a fur coat, it will be the envy of the little sisters in the capital. Which brother can help me peel the skin, I will be grateful." Yan was very lively. It also attracted Chu Zijin, who was worried that her fiancé would be seduced by a slutty fox, and she got off the carriage for the first time. Fang Yuanyang is worthy of being the #1 ward inspection captain in the capital. He pushed aside the dandy who blocked his way and took the lead to win the beauty's smile. "Zijin, look, this Fang has fallen in love with someone else so quickly." The third princess's pretty face turned pale, and she gritted her teeth secretly. "Unfaithful man. Half of your 10 spiritual stones tuition was paid by my royal family, how dare you do this? This is a 3-meter-long majestic male lion. No one knows what it eats to grow up. It has well-developed muscles, which makes everyone marvel. The lion's death is still powerful. Its golden hair flutters in the wind and shines brightly under the golden sun. Ling. A lion corpse is detected. According to the history of she's eating lion corpses, under high temperature exposure, the lion corpse contains a large amount of flammable gas, which is very easy to cause corpse explosion. Calculation is over. It is estimated that its essence was 3.3 when it was alive, and its internal breath is unknown. It is a 3rd-grade fierce beast, and its strength corresponds to that of a 3rd-grade external martial artist. The power of the explosion center is unstoppable by non-4th-grade hard and soft warriors. It is recommended that the host keep a safe distance of more than 5 meters. Chen Mo was reminded and stopped, only watching from a distance without playing. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Borrowing corpses to kill people, Feng Yuanyang, your life is over. The curious baby was still poking left and right, and struggled to turn the lower body of the lion corpse out, staring at a tube, muttering, Tiger whip is a great tonic. Lions, not bad. Eat it raw. Maybe my little brother can be saved, and then find Chen Mo to settle the accounts after he gets stronger. Although Chen Mo's lower abdomen attack did not directly destroy Fang Yuanyang, he couldn't get hard these days, and he urgently needed to revive his male power. Of course, he had to kneel down and lick the sister who was staring at the lion's mane, and Fang Yuanyang drew out the Shangfang sword in a dignified manner. Boom! The deafening sound of the lion explosion resounded throughout the wilderness. From the small hole poked in the lion's neck, the skin, bones, and internal organs flew up into the sky, making the sound of New Year's firecrackers one after another. Fang Yuanyang didn't even have time to scream, and was instantly shot into a hornet's nest and died. Within a radius of 5 meters, it became a bloody hell. The heroic male lion was left with only a bloody and broken skeleton, accompanied by a nauseating corpse stench. The shock wave brought by the lion explosion also knocked down the onlookers 5 meters away. Fortunately, they didn't dare to watch the bloody scene of skinning and stood far away. Apart from Fang Yuanyang's offering to the sky, the most seriously injured person was the one who fell to the ground and broke his skin. Ling. The lion's heart is still there, which is the essence of the flesh and blood of the third-grade fierce beast. It is recommended to take it orally immediately. Even Sun Wutong was shocked by the gorgeous lion explosion, but Chen Mo walked in the blood and stepped forward to pick up the trophy. The red heart exudes a scent of malt, dispelling the corpse stench around Chen Mo. Deep feelings, swallow it in one gulp. The bloody lion heart gurgled and rolled into Chen Mo's throat. The host ingested a medium amount of active factors, and the essence increased by 0.15, 0.21. Danchin was warm and comfortable. Chen Mo's ears moved slightly, and he noticed a whistling wind. Northwest 45 degrees, there is an arrow, the speed is 80 meters per second, turn your head to avoid it. In a flash, an iron feather stuck to Chen Mo's left ear and pierced into the lowest not far away, and the feathers on the tail trembled. The surface began to vibrate, and the thunderous sound of horse hooves came from far away. Wolf thieves? Surround the carriage, boys outside, girls inside, form a formation for defense. Sun Wutong was experienced and was the first to judge that the wolf thieves were coming. With a shout, he awakened the pink new blood whose mind was taken away by the lion explosion. On the battlefield, the military formation is king, and personal bravery is second. Facing the cavalry charge, we can only gather together to fight back and wait for the gray-robed man to take action. Just pass the review and we'll start normal updates tomorrow. Chapter 7, Wolf Bandits Charge. Yellow sand billowed into the sky. Ling. There are about 100 wolf bandits, with 0.4 essence of minions and 1 essence of small leaders. The leader's position is unknown and is being located. Wolf bandits refer to various groups of criminals in the eastern wilderness. The members are prisoners, bandits, horse bandits, deserters who can't make it in other countries. Upon hearing the number, Chen Mo retreated quickly. The one who shot the cold arrows before was the scout among the wolf bandits. Fearing Chen Mo's sharp reaction ability, although they hated him for swallowing the essence of the lion heart, they did not dare to go deep alone. Put down the bow and arrow, lie on the mud in the distance, and wait quietly for the arrival of the large army. Fang Yuanyang died in the corpse explosion. There were only 90 new blood left in the horse team. Excluding Chu Zijin, who had only 0.5 essence, there were only 12 boys and girls with health preservation strength who could fight. After a lot of hassles, everyone managed to surround the 7 carriages into an iron barrel circle before the wolf bandits arrived. Why won't the gray-robed man attack? Chen Mo looked eagerly at the carriage at the front of the circle, but the gray-robed man never appeared. This was the first time that this group of wolf bandits encountered a horse team without escorts. They relaxed their vigilance, stopped about 10 meters away, and shouted loudly, "Fat sheep! Brothers, say hello first. Hey, you are so delicate, everyone, be gentle. Don't fight with me for that brown-skinned handsome guy." A wave of arrows flew over. The lethality was too weak. This group of wolf bandits were not well equipped, and they used handmade bone arrows, which hit the special carriage canopy, leaving only a shallow white mark. Only a few delicate girls exclaimed, "Oh! Don't you dare to have ideas about me, your young master, even though you are so honorable." Sun Wutong bent his bow and shot down the Longyang fan, who was still commenting on his appearance. This angry arrow, after piercing the throat, still had the remaining force, and pierced the horse under the crotch of a wolf bandit behind him, causing him to stand up in pain and throw the knight off his horse. Starting with Sun Wukong, many nobles and princes who had entered the first-grade health preservation also shot down in nearly 10 wolf bandits in succession. In an instant, the wolf bandits standing at the front fell down like wheat, and the front formation was scattered. The point is difficult to handle. These bastards are all first-grade warriors. How is it possible? The minions go first. The small leader cursed and waved the whip to drive the cannon fodder to consume a wave of enemy physical strength and arrows. A wolf bandit was timid and was shot through the heart by the sentry who was holding the formation. He fell off his horse with his chest covered. The remaining minions could only lower their bodies and grit their teeth to drive their horses forward. After all, they were on horseback to make a living. Once the wolf bandits moved, they were numerous and powerful, and rushed to the front of the formation under the sparse arrows. The skilled rider pulled the reins, and the warhorse leaped up, past the carriage, and rushed directly into the core of the barrel formation. Most of the new blood had never experienced the baptism of the battlefield. When the wolf bandits rushed in, they were confused and fought on their own, relying on their slightly better physique to defeat the enemy with force. Man and horse became one. A wolf bandit bent over, took advantage of the momentum, aimed his saber at Chen Mo, and slashed at him. Simulate the best response plan. A blue trajectory line appeared in front of Chen Mo, simulating the path of the wolf bandit's sword swing. The end of the path was his neck without leather armor. After 3 breaths, bend down and swing the sword upwards. Following the instructions of the chip, Chen Mo's forearm muscles bulged, and he swung the sword from the right side. While dodging, he placed a blade at the place where the wolf bandit must pass. Just as the wolf bandit offered it up, his right arm, which was brandishing the sword, accurately hit the sharp tip of the blade. Because the horse was too fast, Chen Mo didn't even use his full strength, and the arm that was still holding the saber was broken at the root and fell to the ground. The wolf thief felt the pain, loosened the reins with his left hand, and fell off the horse. Sun Wukong, who came to pick up the leak, beheaded him with a knife. The horse under him stopped because its master died, and was trapped in the center of the barrel formation, unable to move forward or backward. The precise cooperation of the two attracted the attention of the nearby breakers. The 3 wolf thieves turned over and dismounted, and pressed forward in a triangle. Ling. The wolf thief on the left is a hidden leader, with 1.2 essence. It is recommended to fight quickly. The chip instantly locked onto a bearded man holding a knife in his left hand. Chen Mo secretly made a gesture to Sun Wukong, and then rushed straight towards him. Fuck, do you think I'm a soft person? The big man spat secretly, suddenly accelerated, and stabbed the saber at the root of Chen Mo's left thigh. However, Chen Mo was faster than him. The latest novel is published in the 69th book bar. He sank his ki into his dantian, exerted force from his waist, and spun 90 degrees with his left leg as the center. The steel knife in his hand pierced the air and slashed towards the throat of the big man with a sharp roar. The killing technique in the army. This is the most popular force-generating technique in the Jingnan army. Ordinary people can also practice it. After the optimization of the chip, it has reached the point of simplicity. Chen Mo was the first to arrive. With a flash of cold light, the blade smoothly cut into the neck of the bearded big man, and the blood splashed on the back of his hand. To deal with 2 minions who didn't even achieve health preservation, Sun Wukong easily beheaded them with 2 knives. Suddenly, he noticed that the sentry who had secretly shot a cold arrow before quietly boarded a carriage and was drawing his bow and arrow. Chen Mo, be careful of the arrows. The scout chose a very tricky time, just when the sharp blade in Chen Mo's hand was stuck by the big man's flesh and blood. Swoosh, the cold arrow stuck to the big man's scalp and shot towards Chen Mo's right eye. If it were an ordinary person, he would be blocked by the big man's burly figure and would definitely die. However, the chip's 360 degrees all-round detection had already predicted the scout's prediction. I'm waiting for you. The internal energy surged to his right arm. Chen Mo used the knife as a medium and lifted it up. The big man's body was used as a shield to block the arrows. Ling. Humidity and wind force calibration, scout dodge prediction, throwing route calculation completed. At the same time, Chen Mo picked up the saber left by the big man with his left hand, and followed the angle displayed on the retina, and threw it out as a hidden weapon without hesitation. How is it possible? The scout's mouth and nose were bleeding, and he weakly grabbed the saber that had been embedded in his heart, looking at Chen Mo in disbelief. He had played with bows all his life, but he had never seen such a magic shot. This can hit the vital point, my god. Sun Wukong's mouth can swallow a toad, and the reminder just now is a joke. From now on, your feather flower bow belongs to me. Chen Mo said, and directly took off a half-man-high bow wrapped in snakeskin from Sun Wukong's back, put 2 arrows on it, and locked onto the 2 wolf bandits who were approaching the inner circle of girls. Swish, swish, it was hard to tell who was first and who was last, and a 3-edged arrow pierced through the chest of the wolf bandit who was still talking nonsense. He lowered his head in disbelief and fell to the ground without leaving a last word. With a bow in hand, Chen Mo's killing efficiency was greatly improved. The arrows were shot without missing, and 9 stars were in a row. One by one, the wolf bandits who broke the formation, whether they were minions or small leaders, were pierced through the chest by arrows. As usual, Chen Mo took out arrows from Sun Wukong's backpack, but he touched nothing. The shooting speed was too fast, and the feather arrows had been used up. Chen Mo shook his right arm, his internal energy surged repeatedly, his sore muscles felt a slight coolness, and the redness, swelling in blue veins gradually subsided. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Twists and Turns. Seeing that the attack was in vain, the leader of the wolf bandits howled and gathered the small leaders and sentinels who were still wandering around the outer perimeter of the barrel formation. However, there were only 50 wolf bandits at this time. In addition to those who died in the charge, there were also those who were afraid of fighting and were executed by the small leaders. Chen Mo looked around and found that most of them were panting with knife wounds and arrow marks. Fortunately, the 12 first-class health-preserving warriors stood in the front. With the essence of the small leaders, they prevented the wolf bandits from breaking into the inner circle where the girls were and killing them wantonly. However, Nai Yuan, who only had 0.5 essence, fell on the front line. His head drooped, leaning against a carriage, and his left chest, which had a transparent hole, gradually stopped rising and falling. Obviously, in the melee, he was stabbed by some small minions. It's troublesome. The remaining wolf bandits are all elites. Gray-robed people, why don't you take action? Chen Mo looked at the motionless carriage and held the bow and arrow tightly. Sun Wukong discovered his comrade's archery talent, and took advantage of the break to bring a bundle of bow and arrows, iron arrows, and feather arrows of different lengths. The wolf bandits dispersed like a tide, revealing 1 man and 1 horse. The wolf bandit leader. The horse under his crotch was pure black without a trace of other colors, with a single horn on its head, and there was still bright red blood in the horse's mouth. Ling. A first-grade fierce beast, a wildebeest, with 1.5 essence, an alien among horses, fierce and carnivorous. Bandit leader, 4th grade hard and soft, essence 4.8, internal breath 4, dangerous, suggest the host to seize the horse and escape. I'm curious, how much ransom are the family behind you willing to pay? With a long knife pointing, the bandit leader rushed over on horseback. Although there was only 1 man and 1 horse, he ran with the momentum of 100 horses galloping. The minions behind him shouted loudly, waving their weapons to build momentum for the leader. The wildebeest under the bandit leader was also stimulated by the battlefield where blood flowed like a river, with red eyes and neighing. Such a noise, disturbing people's sleep in broad daylight. The gray-robed man's dull voice sounded faintly. When everyone came to their senses, he was already standing on the path that the wildebeest must pass. This road is blocked. The gray-robed man only stretched out his right hand and pressed against the horn of the beast, and he stopped the charge of 1 man and 1 horse. The bandit leader on horseback knew that he had encountered a strong enemy. With a loud shout, he sprayed a blood mist, urged the life-threatening method, and released his internal energy in 1 blow. The man took advantage of the horse's momentum and chopped the gray-robed man's head with a crescent-shaped scimitar. Dang, the gray-robed man was stubborn and did not move at all. However, the bandit leader's scimitar was shaken away, and his knuckles were shattered. Because of the excessive force, the recoil force transmitted also damaged his internal organs, and he even coughed up heart and lung fragments. The wildebeest panicked and kicked the ground with all 4 limbs, but could not escape the gray-robed man's clutches. Go! With a low shout, the gray-robed man's exposed arm muscles bulged slightly, and he lifted the bandit leader and his horse together, rotated 90 degrees, and threw him to the wolf bandits. In a moment, people and horses were thrown to the ground, and there were dozens of casualties. The gray-robed man had also rushed into the wolf bandits. Beep. Pay attention to the gray-robed man's arm. The skin surface contains active factors. The chip camera zoomed in, and Chen Mo observed that the gray-robed man's right arm was engraved with mysterious bronze inscriptions, with crooked strokes. He glanced at it and felt dizzy. Alarm. The host is disturbed by an unknown force field, and the force dispersal operation begins. After 3 or 4 seconds, Chen Mo recovered and his face was gloomy. If it was a life-and-death fight, this period of time would be enough for the gray-robed man to kill me more than 10 times. Chip, analyze the cause and provide a solution. Beep. The host's brain blood supply suddenly stopped, and he was in a trance. The unknown force field that exerts interference has a special nature. The database data is insufficient and cannot be analyzed. Please ask the host to add relevant information. Chen Mo was shocked. The chip is almost omnipotent in martial arts, but it is helpless when it comes to problems related to Qigong practitioners. The so-called analysis and deduction function is a joke without basic data. Looking around, Chen Mo found that except for himself, everyone else had blurred eyes. If there was a strong wind, they would fall to the ground. No wonder he covers himself with a gray robe all day long. He is simply a human harvester. Ling. The unknown force field on the surface of the gray robe person fluctuates, and the essence data is abnormal and rising rapidly. The latest novel is first published in the 69th book bar. In just 6 or 7 seconds, his essence has climbed from the original 8.3 to a terrifying 9.9. The higher the basic value of essence, every increase of 0.1 represents a small step up in physical fitness. Alert! An unknown force field appears 100 meters ahead. Dangerous, extremely dangerous. Before the chip's urgent warning ended, a giant crossbow suddenly jumped up from the ground and shot at the gray-robed man. Ha! With a thunderous roar, the gray-robed man who was killing people on all sides had his coat shattered, revealing a hideous bronze inscription tattoo. It was 2 lifelike spider legs. Under the urging of the gray-robed man, the inscription turned from virtual to real, and stretched out from his back with splattered blood, as if the gray-robed man was born with 2 spider legs, which were usually sealed in the body in the form of bronze inscriptions. The forearms collided with a crossbow arrow that was shot at them. There was a talisman attached to the crossbow arrow, on which was a crooked creature that looked like a snake or a dragon. At the moment of collision, a pale yellow light burst out. The fierce and mysterious spider legs encountered their natural enemies. They lasted less than 3 seconds under the cover of yellow light and then shattered and weathered. Dragon spirit. How dare you, a lackey of the dragon court. Fortunately, the 2 arms of the gray-robed man were strong, and at the cost of torn tendons, he bought enough time to escape. However, the wolf bandits who were huddled together were in a miserable state. The crossbow arrows, which were as thick as an ordinary person's arm and about 2 meters long, lost some momentum and tore 5 wolf bandits in a row, stringing them together with their horses. Under the continuous attack, the wolf bandits were all killed. Kill all the new blood, move quickly. Where the crossbow arrows were shot, ripples appeared, and 3 generals appeared. Their armor was engraved with an evil dragon with bared fangs and claws. Judging from its style, it was not any set of armor from any country. There was also a ferocious crossbow cannon crawling in front of them. The cold arrow just now was shot by the 3 of them together. They had already ambushed here and advanced under the cover of an unknown force field. The wolf bandits might be the cannon fodder they launched to divert the attention of the gray-robed man. Ling. All 3 are 5th grade divine warriors, with an average of 7 essence and 4 internal breath. It's dangerous. The host is advised to seize the horse and run away. No, the gray-robed man is a disciple of the immortal sect. Can't he stop him? Ling. The unknown force field on the gray-robed man dissipated, and the real data was detected. 7th grade Ningang warrior, essence 6.5, 8.3, internal breath 4.1, 8.5. Status, week period after the outbreak. The disciple of the immortal sect is a mortal warrior, at the level of his father. What a joke. Also, how did he achieve a sudden increase in essence? The gray-robed man's essence rose to 9.9, suspected to be affected by the bronze inscription on his body. There is insufficient information and it is impossible to judge. Chen Mo planned to run away. In front of his life, the fate of the immortal sect had to be postponed. The chip calculated that the gray-robed man in a weak state could only desperately block the 3 enemies for 100 breaths. Alert! Alert! A third-party unknown force field is approaching. The intensity is the highest on site. Extremely dangerous. The host is advised not to act rashly. Stopping his steps, Chen Mo saw a golden sword light descending from the sky, piercing through the layers of dark clouds. The target was the 3 dragon court lackeys. Chapter 9, 100-Step Flying Sword. Before the golden sword light fell, the fierce murderous aura had already attracted everyone's attention. My lords, today, we should die for our country. I will go first. The leading divine warrior shouted, rose from the ground, and faced the sword light that fell from the sky. The dragon armor on his body seemed to be in tune with the master's mind, emitting a dazzling yellow light, shattering, and forming an armor barrier in front of him. However, the sword light that fell from the sky was indestructible. It paused slightly and pierced through the thin film barrier, and then split the flesh and blood below into 2. The wound form was extremely smooth, and strangely, not a drop of blood flowed out. However, the leader at least eliminated the sword light at the cost of his life. The other 2, with tears in their tiger eyes, made a decision after their eyes met. The one on the left hugged the gray-robed man desperately, ignoring his punches and heavy blows, and at the cost of his life, fixed the gray-robed man in place. The remaining people burst out with all their life force and rushed towards the noodlets, who were still in a confused state due to the influence of the inscription spider legs. They waved their hands wildly and threw out 4 flying knives in a breath. The attack target of the Dragon Court running dog is the 4 people 10 meters to the right of the host. The probability of affecting the host is 3%. It is recommended to stay where you are. There were only 18 new bloods left, and the probability of a random death was only 5.6%. Of course, Chen Mo did not move to avoid attracting the attention of the dying person. Who knows if his dragon armor will crack and fly towards him? I would rather die than die. A mortal with flesh and blood dares to go against the immortals under the protection of dragon energy. In the clouds, a Taoist priest flying with a sword appeared. He stepped on the tip of a 3-foot green sword, like a high immortal god, and coldly pinched a spell. Huh? As soon as the voice fell, the flying sword under his feet spit out 4 slender sword beams, which were launched later but arrived first, and shot down the 4 flying knives one by one. Then, in mid-air, they merged into a thicker flying sword shadow, and before the divine warrior could react, it circled along his neck, and a good head rolled to the ground. Similarly, there was no blood on the wound. Then, as if the sword shadow was very disgusted with the dragon armor worn by the warrior, it directly hit the ferocious dragon head, breaking it into pieces and turning it into a pile of scrap metal. The only remaining divine warrior also breathed his last breath under the continuous heavy punches of the gray-robed man. War slave Wang Shuo, meet the master of Qigan. The gray-robed man had no time to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, knelt on one knee, and saluted the Taoist priest who was flying on the sword. War slave? Isn't he an outer disciple? Sun Wukong is talking nonsense with his eyes open, and he cheated me of half a pancake. The reversal of the gray-robed man's identity made Chen Mo have to question the authenticity of Sun Wukong's statement about the Sci-fi continent and the overseas immortals. Although his mind was turning, Chen Mo remained calm and stood there blankly like other noodlet. The Taoist in green made another hand gesture, summoned several balls of water out of thin air, and hit all the new bloods on their faces. Drop. No threat, it's made of water vapor in the air, 99% pure, edible. Chen Mo took a sip. It was icy cold, as sharp as mountain spring water. After becoming a Qigan practitioner, you won't have to worry about water in the desert anymore. The boys and girls who had been distracted by the bronze inscription tattoos on the gray robe woke up immediately after the cold water splashed on their faces, looking at the mess on the ground, chattering. Silence. Everyone get in the car, set off immediately. The Taoist shouted coldly, and everyone could only suppress their curiosity and get into the carriage obediently. Falling from the sky, flying with a sword, and all kinds of immortal methods made these secular gongsuns have to obey. At this time, the gray-robe Wang Shuo dared to stagger to his feet, gave his carriage to the Qigan practitioner, and drove for him personally. I'll give you the belongings of these 3 dragon court lackeys. Get on your way. The Taoist shrunk the flying sword and put it into his sleeve. He casually pointed at the last dragon armor, and a sword light flew out, smashing it into powder. Chip, analyze the Taoist's attack principle just now, character modeling. The Taoist's body surface is interfered by an unknown force field, and it cannot be broken through. Modeling failed. Danger rating, Extremely dangerous, it is recommended that the host stay away from more than 10 miles. Ling. The Taoist sword-riding killing technique should be the secular legend, the 100-step flying sword. The dragon energy used by the three powerful warriors is insufficient and cannot be analyzed. Hypothesis and inference are as follows. The dragon energy is accompanied by an unknown force field, which can resist the methods of the Immortal Gate. The twists and turns of the fight made Chen Mo full of doubts, but there was too little relevant data, so he had to give up the search. I must get the power of a Qigong practitioner. The latest novel is first published on the 69th Book Forum. After seeing the Taoist killing a powerful warrior with a 100-step flying sword like a butcher, Chen Mo became more determined to seek immortality. Fortunately, the old man from the royal family that my father killed was a fake Qigong practitioner, otherwise our Jingnan Marcus mansion. The scene was so beautiful that Chen Mo shuddered at the thought. The carriage traveled eastward. Chen Mo manipulated the reins and stared numbly at the lifeless wasteland. There was endless yellow soil, few green plants, and no life. It had been more than 50 days since the last attack by the wolf bandits and the dragon court running dogs. In fact, the convoy did not encounter many dangers during these days. The wolf bandits, relying on the speed of their horses, gathered in groups to cause chaos on the edge of the eastern wasteland. The largest group they encountered was only 1,000 people. The Taoist priest in green shirt did not even get out of the carriage. He just controlled the flying sword and circled around the wolf bandits. He killed them and made them cry for their parents and scatter like birds and beasts. Someone with good eyesight shouted out words like 100-step flying sword. I think this is the origin of the biography of Qigong practitioners in the rivers and lakes. As they went deeper into the eastern wilderness, there were fewer traces of wolf bandits. After all, people need to drink water and horses need to eat grass. There are too few oases in the depths of the wilderness. It is not easy for wolf bandits to survive by eating people and horses. However, the horse team encountered many strange beasts that Chen Mo had never seen before. It was because the Hao Mansion had a rich collection of books that he retrieved relevant information through the comparison and analysis of the chip. There was a 7th-grade beast that was as tall as a person and was a scavenger wolf. Its essence reached 8.3. Even if Chen Mo's father, a 7th-grade Ninggang master, encountered it, it would be difficult. There was even a huge monster 10 meters long that looked like an enlarged version of a domestic gecko. It was called the Wasteland Earth Dragon. Its body shape was the same as a hill. The breath alone suffocated Chen Mo. Fortunately, it was very afraid of the murderous aura leaked by the Taoist priest, so it took a glance from a distance and left. The 3rd-grade corpse-exploding fierce lion that Chen Mo encountered when he first entered the wasteland was just a younger brother in front of these wasteland overlords. Fortunately, with the protection of the Taoist priest in green, a simple sword from 100 steps away could solve the trouble, and the group passed through the eastern wasteland safely. The gray-robed man was just a war slave who ran errands to various countries to collect new blood. Alone, he might not be able to cross the eastern wasteland alive. The real escort still depends on the Taoist priest in green, a Qigong practitioner with a talisman. Chapter 10, The Phantom of the Demon Gate. Arrived at the destination. In front of him was a sea. The vast and endless blue sea. This was the first time Chen Mo had seen the sea in his life. The sea and the sky were connected, and the grand scene of white gulls dancing in the sky made him feel relaxed and happy. Then he was attracted by a 20-meter-high, long enough for a horse to run across the sea. It was like a sleeping steel beast, dormant on the coast. I don't know what kind of strange metal it was made of, but it only had a draft of 3 meters and did not run aground. At the foot of the giant ship, there were hundreds of carriages parked, and people came and went, including gray-robed war slaves dressed like Wang Shuo, and new blood of the same age as Chen Mo. Everyone rushed into the cross-sea giant ship like ants. Wei Qingyi, you are late. Look at your stinky face. What trouble did you encounter? The ground cracked, and a half-human high boundary monument rose up. On it, there were blurred facial features, teasing the Taoist in green who had just stepped off the carriage. The lackeys of the Dragon Court deliberately set up confusion, which made it late for me to reunite with the war slaves. If it weren't for the flying sword, I might have been hurt by 3 mortals with 5th-grade divine power. Wei Qingyi curled his lips, motioned everyone to go first, and complained to the boundary monument, I don't know what's wrong with the immortal locking division of the Kyanitian Empire. They sent people across the sea to intercept and kill the new blood. What good seedlings are there in the subcontinent? Most of them can't even reach the 6th level of key training. It's a waste of time to kill them, who knows? It's probably a brilliant idea that the mortal emperor of Qiannian came up with on the spur of the moment. The man and the stone talked without any scruples, and when they heard Chen Mo's face sank, he worried about his aptitude as a key practitioner. Ling. Host, please rest assured. The aptitude for cultivating immortals should be related to the resistance to unknown force fields. The host quickly got rid of the confusion of Wang Shuo's inscription spider legs that day, and his aptitude is the best among everyone. I don't care about a mere chicken head. The affirmation of the chip gave Chen Mo a reassurance, and he didn't look as nervous as Chu Zijin, He Tingting, Sun Wutuang and others. Following the flow of people, he stepped onto the deck. Come here one by one to register your personal information, talk less and be more obedient. If you don't follow the rules, I will throw you into the sea to feed the fish. A skinny old man in a mopping white robe, leaning on a cane, was behind the table in the middle of the deck, cursing and shouting non-stop. Opposite him, there was a long line. A young boy at the head was riding with his head down. Although he was sprayed by the old man's saliva, he didn't dare to stop filling in the parchment with his right hand. Hurry up, I have checked the quality of your new blood. You still need to meditate and practice Qi. Next. The old man shouted, Boy, your qualifications are too poor. You can't even be a war slave. Girl, you barely passed. You are expected to practice Qi at the 6th level at the age of 80. Oh, not bad, a water spirit vein. The fish pond is in need of a long-term worker, young man, consider it. Everyone received the old man's evaluation of qualifications. Some cried, some laughed, and some were confused. After half a cup of tea, it was Chen Mo's turn. The old man pinched Chen Mo's palm with his chicken claws and nodded, Bone age is more than 12, qualified, roll into the formation. As for the place of origin and life experience just filled in, the old man in white robe only glanced at it. Obviously, he didn't care whether it was true or not, as long as Chen Mo paid the tuition in full. As soon as he stepped into a 5-element 8-diagram formation engraved on the deck, Chen Mo felt cold all over, and felt ashamed of being stripped of clothes. His limbs were tense and he was about to jump up. What are you moving around for? Relax your body and mind. As soon as the old man shouted, the magic circle under his feet lit up with colorful light. Chen Mo's body sank and he couldn't move. The host is in an unknown force field, the concentration of active factors has increased, and the consequences are unknown. However, Chen Mo could no longer hear the warning of the chip. His eyes blurred and he found himself standing naked in the void. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Various colored light spots surrounded his body, but the closest one was a thick yellow spot and a cluster of flashing sparks. Behind them, the vast land and blazing fire appeared. Chen Mo curiously stretched out his hand and placed the 2 light balls in his palm. Before he had enough fun, a black ink spot suddenly appeared on his chest and spread rapidly throughout his body. Ah! Chen Mo woke up with a scream and found that the old man in white robe stretched his neck in front of him, and said in amazement, Oh, among the new blood of my famous and righteous sect, there is also a demon cub with yin spirit veins like you. It's rare, rare. With a stroke of the pen, the old man stuffed the parchment with qualifications written on it into Chen Mo's hand. Before he could take a closer look, Chen Mo was pushed off the deck by a gray-robed war slave. Room C, number 39, is yours. Read the Introduction to the Immortal Path carefully and understand it before you come out to hang out. Pushing Chen Mo into the small cabin and pointing to a parchment book on the floor, the gray-robed war slave closed the door and left. Chip, sort out the contents of the book, and analyze the abnormality of my body during the aptitude test. Chen Mo turned the pages quickly, and a blue light appeared in his eyes. After turning the pages, he finally provided enough useful data to the chip, Ling. The 5 elements and 8 trigrams spiritual awakening array is used to stimulate and detect the aptitude of mortals in cultivating immortals. The host was positively affected by the force field of the array during the test, and the active factors infiltrated into the body, and he has become a half-step Kigen practitioner. The host's qualifications are as follows: Fire spiritual vein, implicit 87%, Earth spiritual vein, implicit 65%, Yin spiritual vein, explicit, a total of 7 veins. Then, the chip stuffed a lot of common sense of the immortal sect into Chen Mo's mind. The key refining stage is divided into 12 levels. The immortal cultivators at this stage are called Kigen practitioners, and their qualifications are divided into different levels. The prerequisite for practicing Qi is that you have at least one spiritual vein such as gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, and can absorb the free active factors of the same attribute from the outside world, which is what the Immortal sect calls spiritual energy. Spiritual veins can be divided into two categories, implicit and explicit. The former is also called pseudo-spiritual veins and waste spiritual veins. It is the worst performance of Qi training aptitude. The owner must be mentally prepared to be in the Qi training stage for a lifetime. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. The latter can be regarded as the real qualification for cultivating immortals. It can show colored spiritual veins like meridians on the body, which improves the efficiency of meditation and Qi training. There are 1 to 9 veins. The more the number, the better the aptitude. In addition, there is a top qualification called spiritual root above the explicit spiritual vein. The owner will be able to break through the Qi training stage and enter the supernatural power stage. He will have innate supernatural powers and be respected as a cultivator. In the Immortal Gate, he is also a middle upper level who can independently open a cave. Although Chen Mo's talent is not as good as the 8 spiritual veins, 9 spiritual veins, and spiritual roots, it is also a superior qualification. After practicing Qi for half a lifetime, he can achieve the great perfection of the 12th level of Qi training. Comparing with the parchment, Chen Mo found that the qualification assessment given by the chip was more accurate. The old man only wrote one sentence: earth and fire veins are useless, it's better to have nothing. Boy, choose a yin attribute Kigen method. When the opportunity comes, you may really become a supernatural cultivator. Ling. The host awakens the spirit vein, generates inspiration, the ability to perceive and absorb spiritual energy, and the task of capturing spiritual energy factors begins. Data modeling is in progress, which takes 12 hours and 35 minutes. After a bumpy ride, Chen Mo was also tired and fell into the hammock and fell asleep. However, colorful spots of light appeared around him, mainly dark yin spiritual energy, which automatically penetrated into his skin with his breathing. Ling. A downpour after a long drought. After the yin spiritual vein is activated, it will autonomously absorb free yin spiritual energy and the host's essence will be improved. After waking up, Chen Mo found that the chip data had changed a lot. Host Chen Mo, a 2nd grade Qi sensing warrior, essence 3.1, increased by 1.7 overnight, internal breath 1.4, a Qi practitioner in the foundation building stage, Qi essence 0.7. Qi practitioners are in the foundation building stage, the cultivation realm of those who have just activated their spiritual veins. It is estimated that the Qi essence will reach 1, and they can become Qi practitioners of the 1st level of Qi training. Qi essence is converted from spiritual energy. The energy required for Qi practitioners to cast spells can only be refined by those who have activated their spiritual veins. Take a standard low-level spirit stone and burn it to release spiritual energy, which is the standard value of 1. Note that the host's internal breath can be converted into Qi essence through yin attribute Qi training methods. Through internal vision, Chen Mo found that there was a group of black mist in his danshan. It was the yin attribute Qi essence. Although the amount was small, it occupied most of the space and was still transforming his danshan. The Qi C of a Qi practitioner stores Qi Yuan, and its location is the same as that of the danshan. It is actually an upgraded version of the danshan. If you don't practice Qi anymore, the internal breath you have worked hard to nurture will be wasted. Chen Mo sighed and ordered the chip to optimize the attributeless Qi training foundation building method recorded in the book, Introduction to the Immortal Path. Since this giant ship that brings in new blood is jointly operated by several famous and righteous sects, after arriving at the Sci-fi continent, 500 or 600 people on a ship will worship different immortal sects. Therefore, the self-study method provided now is just a common one to prevent the young men from getting bored on the ship. Woo woo, the cross-sea giant ship roared, set sail, and the driving force came from the 9 fine iron chains on the bow. The chain was very long, winding deep into the sea 1,000 meters away, and at the end, it was inserted into the back of a black and white whale. This huge and fierce fish, as big as a hill, seemed to be able to receive the instructions of the Qi practitioner on the ship through the chain. With the sound of the whistle, it swam slowly, flapping its tail fin up and down, covering a distance of 100 meters. The nearby marine creatures hurriedly made way for the giant whale. On the shore stood a human-faced boundary monument. It looked eastward with a mocking smile and said to the air beside it, There are 647 new bloods on this ship. The route is like this, and the stopover is like this. Which Taoist friend from the blood robe sect? Hurry up and send money. A ball of ghost fire appeared out of thin air, and a white bone arm stretched out from it, throwing a storage bag into the mouth of the boundary monument. Old stone, 8 mid-level earth spirit stones and 1 high-level fire spirit stone. We're even. The boundary monument showed its sharp fangs, chewed the spirit stones, and mumbled, "The share is sufficient, Guxi, you are so generous to give me money. Next time we cooperate with the blood robe sect, I will find you again." Before the ghost fire disappeared, it left a kind reminder, "Next time? You are a traitor. Do you want to be skinned and pulled out by the magical cultivators from Shu Iron Cave Heaven, Talia Sword Sect, and 100 Beasts Valley?" But the boundary monument didn't take it to heart, and said carelessly, "Fellow Taoist Guxi, we cultivators must stay calm. The resources of the subcontinent are scarce, and only the fools of Longting will send people. If the righteous cultivators come across the sea, I will hide in the ground and play hide and seek. Let's see who can outlast who." Soon, the boundary monument was the only creature that could speak human language on the shore. He looked at the carriages on the ground and opened his mouth to suck. These blood, flesh and food can't be wasted. A gust of evil wind blew by, and nearly 100 horses wailed in unison. One after another, they were sucked into the stone mouth that suddenly stretched to 3 meters wide by the boundary marker. The next ship of new blood will have to wait for 3 years. Sleep, sleep. A rumbling snoring sounded, and the boundary marker drilled into the ground, and a big pit appeared at its original location. Only a field of carriages was left on the shore, waiting for the next batch of passengers. Chapter 11 Teasing. Gurgle Chen Mo touched his shriveled belly and went to the dining area. Those who eat air are immortal. I haven't reached that level yet, so I have to eat seriously. As his essence rose, Chen Mo's steps became much lighter, and he came from the lower cabin to the open deck in a blink of an eye. On the open bow, the gray-robed war slaves had arranged the food in advance. They were all seafood just caught from the sea, shrimps, crabs, clams, eels and other novel foods, which opened the eyes of Chen Mo, who grew up in the inland. All 3 meals on the ship are fully self-service, so you can eat as much as you want. However, there were no gray-robed war slaves to serve. The gray-robed war slaves would not serve the new blood that could be killed by a single finger. They were not worthy. They were considered to be the servants of the immortal gate, all of whom were born as poor warriors. In order to improve their essence and inner breath, they were willing to become medicine men and slaves for key practitioners and monks. The spider leg tattoo on Wang Shuo's back is a kind of rough spiritual inscription, which is activated by essence and inner breath. Every time it is used, it will greatly damage the lifespan. Wang Shuo, who had no qualifications for practicing qi, spared no effort for the sake of strength. As for the identity of the dragon court lackey who killed the new blood in the eastern wilderness, Chen Mo also found the answer from the entry instructions. The vast land in the western part of Xianfang continent is not dominated by the immortal sect alone. There stands a powerful mortal empire Qianlong. The human emperor is a tiny person with a lifespan of only 100 years, but he has concentrated power in one person through law and civil governance. In conjunction with this special geographical environment of Qianlong, he has produced an invisible gas called dragon energy, which is specially used to break various magics and magical powers driven by spiritual energy. The place where the imperial power is the strongest, such as the capital, is completely connected to the sky and the earth, and there is no spiritual energy at all. It is a forbidden place for immortal cultivators. The crossbow arrows were attached with Jialong Qi, a subspecies of dragon energy, which easily broke the spiritual energy inscription that Wang Shuo sold himself to obtain. Of course, Wei Qingyi's cultivation is profound, and Jialong Qi is not enough, so the 3 powerful warriors died without any ability to fight back. Fresh food containing spiritual energy has been detected, and the one with the highest content is the deep-sea hermit crab 10 meters to the left front. Chen Mo was excited to see the prey, and without taking the plate, he directly picked up the 2.5-meter-long claws of the sea crab and took the whole steamed red-faced crab for himself. "Chen Mo, come here." Sun Wutong's loud voice came to his ears, and Chen Mo picked up the giant crab and ate with him. Sitting next to him were He Tingting and Chu Zijin, the 2 opposite sexes who could barely be considered fellow villagers. Chu Zijin changed her previous princess temperament, lowered her head, and dealt with a sea clam with a depressed expression, without even looking up at the prince consort. Sun Wutong leaned over and whispered, "Hey, Chu Zijin is the worst pseudo-spiritual vein of the wood element. It's good enough if he can get to the 6th level of key training in his lifetime." After saying that, Sun Wutong winked at Chen Mo. "Now is the time for you to show your masculine charm and comfort the wounded heart of the downtrodden princess. How many golden opportunities are there in life? Why don't you rush up and grab her with all your strength?" Chip, scan Chu Zijin. Ling. Chu Zijin, Key Training and Foundation Building, Essence 1.1, Key Essence 0.1, Wood Spirit Vein, Implicit 98.1415926%. Compared with the great progress of Chen Mo after absorbing spiritual energy for the first time, the improvement effect of Chu Zijin's essence and key essence is much weaker. However, according to the martial arts realm, Chu Zijin only slept for one night and doubled his essence, becoming a first-class health-preserving warrior. It can be seen that martial arts training has nothing, but immortal cultivation has everything. In order to understand Chu Zijin better, Chen Mo specially asked the chip to calculate the value to 7 decimal places. This quantitative analysis is much more accurate than the qualitative analysis of the 5 elements Bagua array, which only gives the hidden and obvious spiritual veins. In the calculation of the chip, as long as the hidden pseudo-spiritual vein reaches 100%, it can be manifested outside the body and become an obvious spiritual vein. With a curled mouth, Chen Mo thought, in fact, the qualifications of Bai Lianhua are not much different from those of the obvious spiritual vein talents of the same lineage. If you work hard, you can definitely reach the 6th level of key training. But, not telling you the truth makes me happy. Chu Zijin's eyes were slightly red, and it was obvious that he had cried for a while in the small cabin before. Chen Mo's appetite increased greatly when he saw it, and the strength of smashing the crab claws increased by 3 points. "Brother Wutong, you look so radiant, you must have an extraordinary aptitude for key training." He Tingting leaned closer to Chen Mo, bringing a faint minty fragrance, and replied, "Sun Wutong is the best among the 3 of us, with 3 water-type spiritual veins. I'm a little bit inferior, with 1 wood-type spiritual vein." He Tingting finally suppressed Chu Zijin's princess temperament and deliberately emphasized the 1 wood-type spiritual vein. She paused, glanced at her demonstratively, and snorted coldly. Sun Wutong patted Chen Mo on the shoulder. Seeing that he remained silent and focused on dealing with the crab claws, he comforted him, "Chen Mo, although you have a fake spiritual vein, don't be discouraged. Follow your brother to join Shu Iron Cave Heaven. I will protect you. Eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks, and you will have the hope of longevity." I have a dominant yin spiritual vein, and I don't have many veins, only 7. The latest novel is first published on Liu Jishuba. Chen Mo didn't say much, but just urged the Qi Yuan to materialize 7 yin spiritual veins as thin as hair on the back of his left hand, and shook them in front of Sun Wutong's eyes that were as big as copper bells. "My God, how did you materialize the spiritual veins? I tried for 2 hours last night, and I didn't even hear a sound." Sun Wutong's eyes turned red with jealousy, and the dark circles under his eyes became more obvious due to staying up late. Even Chu Zijin, who had turned his anger into appetite, raised his head and covered his cherry lips in surprise. "It's very simple, just move your mind, and that's it." Kigen practitioners use Qi Yuan as a lever to pry the spiritual energy of heaven and earth with different attributes. The more spiritual veins there are, the stronger the affinity for spiritual energy of a certain attribute, and the higher the efficiency of mobilization. Chen Mo taught on the spot and activated 0.1 more Qi Yuan. His left hand was covered by a layer of black mist, and the cold air spread to the table, producing a sizzling corrosion sound. Sure enough, once the spirit is awakened, magic will be born. Chen Mo muttered to himself. Even if there is no magic practice, such as the most distinctive withering mist rain in the yin system magic, with the corrosiveness of Chen Mo's left hand at this time, if it touches the flesh and blood, it will definitely end up with skin shedding and rotting bones. Hiss, Sun Wutong took a breath. This yin spirit is so spooky, no wonder the old man in white robe said you're a demon cub. It's too weird, put it away quickly. Chu Zijin wanted to have a deeper discussion with Chen Mo, but when she saw the hole in the tablecloth, she shrank back without saying a word. "Zijin, don't be afraid, I'm your future husband, I won't hurt you." Chen Mo mischievously stretched out his dirty hands covered with the black mist towards Chu Zijin's slender waist, which was too thin to be grasped, frightening her so much that her pretty face turned pale and she dared not move. "Don't be afraid, dear." The yin spirit dissipated. Chen Mo touched Chu Zijin's willow waist with his fingertips, which felt soft and fragrant like jade and silky, but he only touched it for a moment and then took it back to concentrate on dealing with the difficult crab claws. Chu Zijin didn't dare to call him lecher, so he threw away the jade chopsticks and left the table. The little girl has a temper, don't worry about her. Brother Wu Tuang, today, we are on the path to immortality, and we should make it clear. Chen Mo raised the jade glass cup, which contained an ice drink made from the juice of many marine plants, and drank it all. Drip. The host has absorbed the trace amount of plant essence and spiritual energy, and the essence has increased by 0.01. Chapter 12, The Power of the Talisman. After boarding the ship from the various countries, the eastern wasteland, and then the coast, they had been eating pancakes for who knows how long, and the taste of birds had long faded in their mouths. So Sun Wutong and Chen Mo, foodies, met each other, and ate and drank together. They were eating happily, and a discordant voice sounded on the deck where people were drinking and chatting. Renjun, you are a useless spiritual vein, and you are worthy of joining the Beast Valley with Linger. Talia Sword Gate and Shu Iron Cave Heaven, choose one of the two and go over. I won't make things difficult for you. A boy with black eye bags who was drunk and had unsteady steps attracted a lot of attention. Ling. Black eye bags boy, first level of key training, 1.2 essence, 1 key yuan, 9 spiritual veins of fire. There is an unknown spiritual force field fluctuation in the left arm, suspected to be a talisman, dangerous. Chen Mo's eyes condensed. It is hard to imagine that in just one night, a 9 spiritual vein gifted person can complete the foundation building, condense 1 key yuan, and become a key practitioner of the first level of key training. The target of the boy's glare was Renjun, a bald martial artist as strong as an iron tower. He was describing to a lively girl in a red skirt her future of becoming a disciple of the immortal sect. Renjun frowned and warned, Hu Buguang, stop bothering Linger, you've already been beaten. However, Hu Buguang, who had dark bags under his eyes, laughed wildly and said, a man should be treated with new eyes after a day of absence. Bald man, are you coming again? The 3 men were not from other countries, but should have come from the more distant west of the subcontinent. Although they had strange accents, Chen Mo still heard the reason for the jealousy. Hu Buguang saw that Renjun's female companion was cute and outspoken, and was taught a lesson by his fists before boarding the ship. He trained hard all night to become a Kigan practitioner, and immediately came to take revenge. You are a vulgar warrior with a head full of muscles. The dignity of a Kigan practitioner cannot be challenged by mortals. Hu Buguang's eyes were high and mighty, but when Renjun's tall body pressed down on him, he immediately panicked, knocked over a pile of tables and chairs, and retreated desperately. In a hurry, he took out the dark red copper ring on his left arm, and after taking a punch from Renjun in the face, he finally activated the spiritual array engraved in this ancestral talisman. A cluster of blazing flames ignited on Hu Buguang's left arm, with its own high temperature, instantly forcing back Renjun's second punch. The copper ring made a crisp sound. The flames jumped, separating a tiny spark, splashing on Renjun, causing him to scream in pain. After a few breaths, a hole the size of a fingernail was burned in his left forearm, and the bones inside were faintly visible. Ling. Renjun, 5th grade divine power, essence 8, internal breath 4.1, winning rate 30%. The temperature of the flame was too high. Renjun had no armor and his flesh and blood body could not bear it. If it were not for the internal breath rushing to his left arm and extinguishing the spark, he would have to cut off his arm to survive. Once he made a contribution, although Hu Buguang was pale and his energy was rapidly consumed, the flames on his left hand were still burning. Across his chest, Renjun was tied up. As Hu Buguang pressed forward step by step, Renjun retreated again and again. This world belongs to the world of Kigan practitioners. Little barbarian, why don't you send Linger up to pour wine for this young master to apologize? Otherwise, you will have to taste the power of my red fire ring. At this time, Linger in a red skirt was so anxious that she wanted to stand up and feed the tiger with her own body, but Renjun grabbed her white wrist and stopped her behind her. No private fighting on the ship. The gray-robed Wang Shuo appeared on the deck like a ghost and warned Hu Buguang coldly. However, the red fire ring gave Hu Buguang great courage, and he said disdainfully, little mortal war slave, shut up. Little did he know that one night ago, Hu Buguang was still a real mortal who didn't even have martial arts skills. At such a young age, Relying on the legacy of your ancestors, you can do acrobatics, but you really dare to look down on martial arts. Wang Shuo snorted coldly, and then turned to Ren Jun. Although his bald head was roasted by the flames and sweat was pouring down, he still held on for a breath. Wang Shuo showed a ferocious smile to Ren Jun. Boy, you have the iron pride of a warrior. Watch how I deal with the Kigen practitioner. As soon as the voice fell, Wang Shuo picked up a pair of iron chopsticks and threw them accurately at Hu Byeguang's wrist joints, and deliberately slowed down the speed to let him defend. Sure enough, for safety, Hu Byeguang shook the red fire ring, and flames rose from his left arm out of thin air, turning into a curtain of flames in front of him, melting the shut iron chopsticks into molten iron. However, Wang Shuo focused his eyes and seized a gap revealed by the fluctuation of the fire curtain. The third iron chopstick drew a beautiful parabola and hit Hu Byeguang's open chest accurately. Unable to catch his breath, the flames dissipated and retreated back to the red fire ring like a tide. Damn it, if I had cultivated the red lotus cover, the little war slave. Hu Byeguang fell to the ground, his eyes full of resentment. I got within 10 meters of you. With your reaction speed, you didn't even have time to make a gesture. Before Wang Shuo finished speaking, his right hand had already grabbed Hu Byeguang's neck, frightening him so much that his face turned pale and he swallowed the cruel words forcefully. After 30 breaths, when Hu Byeguang could hardly breathe, Wang Shuo loosened his grip and threw his limp body to the ground. Grinning in pain, Hu Byeguang had no choice but to accept it. He turned around and left in anger, cursing in his heart, "You dog slave from the immortal sect, I will teach you a lesson someday." "Thank you, sir." Ren Jun bowed and did not dare to stay any longer. With the help of his female companion, he staggered back to the cabin. The latest novel is first published on Liu 9 Shuba. Chen Mo is bare-handed and Hu Byeguang is holding a talisman. The life and death game simulation is completed. Within 1 meter, Chen Mo's winning rate is 89%, within 5 meters, Chen Mo's winning rate is 67%, and beyond 10 meters, the winning rate is 34%. The chip was not idle while watching the fun. Through the battle information, it deduced the fight between Chen Mo and Hu Byeguang. Chen Mo found that after keeping a distance, facing the flying sparks summoned by Hu Byeguang through the talisman, he could only passively take the beating. Only by getting close can you catch the flow that will kill with one blow. Warriors are really at a disadvantage when facing Kigen practitioners. Thinking about the fact that Kigen practitioners can fly with swords, while warriors can only stand on the ground and ask the heavens in silence, Chen Mo finally gave up the idea of continuing to practice the Black Turtle Locking Essence Sutra. The growth of essence can be achieved by nourishing the body with spiritual energy. It's just a matter of how to get a talisman, which is troublesome. The gray-robed war slave Wang Shuo killed a chicken to scare the monkeys, and during the following mealtime, the new bloods who had minor conflicts at most glared at each other, and behaved very restrainedly. Room 39 in the Bing-shaped room. Chen Mo held his hands together and sat on the ground. With 3 long and 1 short breaths, dots of black spots seeped into Chen Mo's qi, and 7 spiritual veins emerged on his naked upper body. The cumulative practice time today has reached 2 hours, and the fatigue level of the qi exceeds 81%. It is recommended to stop running the Yin Meridian Foundation building technique. After the chip's optimization, the traction rate of Yin spiritual energy in the attributeless Qi Training Foundation building absolute has been greatly improved, and it has a new name. Chen Mo has also entered the first level of Qi training at this time, only 2 days later than Hu Byeguang, a top-level spiritual vein talent. With the help of the chip, my talent is not much worse than that of the Yin Xing 9 spiritual veins. Because Chen Mo had inspiration after the spiritual awakening, under the 3-dimensional dynamic field of view of the chip, he could even vaguely see the gathering of spiritual energy of different attributes, so the effect of targeted absorption of Yin spiritual energy was improved by 43%. It will be cloudy with occasional showers tomorrow. It is expected that the concentration of Yin spiritual energy will reach its peak for the day at midnight. It is recommended that the host wake up on time to practice. The chip can also measure the concentration of spiritual energy nearby, so Chen Mo has become a real night owl, always nestling in the darkest lower cabin, and rarely goes out except for foraging. He doesn't need to stay on the deck all day like Sun Wutong, breathing the fragrance of the sea water. It is recommended that the host join the Demon Sect. Shuayan Cave Heaven, Beishao Valley, and Tanya Sword Sect are not suitable for Yin Ling Mei, and the attributes of the mainstream skills are not compatible with the host. Which famous and upright sect to join? The demon cub is worried. Chapter 13. Can I get it for free? New blood cubs. The gray whale has arrived at the supply island. You have 6 hours to get off the ship and take a walk. A conch was embedded on the wall of the cabin, and the familiar hoarse voice of the old man in white robes came out from it. Chen Mo woke up from meditation and stretched his legs. It's time to go ashore for a walk. Although there was abundant food on the sea-crossing giant ship, most of the deck was designated as a forbidden area for new blood. His small cabin was too small, and he hadn't practiced martial arts for a long time. Mixed in the crowd of people cheering to get off the ship, Chen Mo finally saw the familiar worldly fireworks. This is a small town that prospered because of the port. The houses are low and the eaves are lined up like sardines in the sea. Various large and small fishing boats are docked on the shore, and fishermen wearing bamboo hats go up and down to carry the fish. After the sea-crossing giant ship docked, it was like a mountain giant, shrouding most of the port in shadow. In mid-air, Yan Qingyi stood on his sword, and his cold voice resounded through the harbor. The Immortal Gate ship has docked. The scattered cultivators on this island should provide all the necessary supplies. There must be no mistakes. Before he finished speaking, the impatient voice of the old man in white robes came from the ship. Too much nonsense, get to work, and the children of your family who are of the right age, come on board for testing. The gray whale released another gangway, and the warrior porters who had been waiting on the shore immediately began to carry the supplies. Chen Mo noticed that among the descendants of this group of scattered cultivators, some even cultivated Qi Yuan in advance, with a value of around 0.5 to 1.5, and secretly smacked his lips. The children of the Immortal Cultivation families on this desolate island have all cultivated Qi Yuan at the first level. How talented are the direct descendants of the Immortal Gate bigwigs? When he thought of this, Chen Mo found that his insignificant talent of Qi Yuan at the first level was nothing, and there was no need to hide it. Just don't tell anyone about the secret of the chip. Traveling alone through the fishing port market, Chen Mo found that there were a lot of Kigan practitioners, warriors, and mortals here, and they didn't stop their livelihoods because of the arrival of the huge cross-sea ship. I found a 9th grade fierce beast sword heel, with 9.9 essence, which is very nutritious to eat. The eel head has a sharp horn and a hard texture, which can be used as arrowheads. Looking around, there was a Kigan practitioner fish stall that occupied the space of 3 or 4 standard stalls. Sure enough, Kigan practitioners are still superior. Chen Mo stared at the 3-meter-long unicorn eel with eager eyes. The fat and tender fish body exuded a sweet aroma that made people salivate. At least a quarter of a standard low-level spirit stone, you can buy it if you want. The stall owner was a burly, dark-faced middle-aged man, but he didn't sell the sword eel at a discount because Chen Mo's face was wider than his. Night pearl, purple gold ingot, all for you, just give me a piece of fish gill meat. Chen Mo took out all his wealth, but the stall owner slammed the chopping board and cursed. Where did the poor new blood come from in the subcontinent? Take some yellow and white things to exchange for the fierce fish that I worked hard to catch from the distant sea. Are you making fun of me? Only accept spirit stones, get out if you can't afford it. Chen Mo was spitted in the face and was extremely frustrated. He finally understood how lucky Chu Zijin's elders were to dig up the tomb of a Kigan practitioner. The admission fee of the two people totaled 20 low-level spirit stones, which was enough to buy 80 sword eels. In the sea, the father of the 7th grade Ninggang was just the human flesh rations of this kind of 9th grade fierce beast. Hey, boy, don't even look at this coral flower. It's a spiritual material that can speed up the key training and foundation building of water-based spiritual veins. It starts with a low-level spiritual stone. The stall owner waved his hands repeatedly, telling Chen Mo to get out like chasing away a fly. Looking at the stall owner's data of key training level 3, Qi Yuan 3.1 inches, Chen Mo swallowed his saliva unwillingly. Wait, I'm already at level 1 of key training, so I can help out for free. I'll be satisfied with just a bite of the sword eel. Chen Mo suddenly remembered his corrosive hands and activated his Qi Yuan, turning his left palm black. Due to his persistence in practicing spiritual energy control on the boat, Chen Mo has been able to bind yin spiritual energy to the epidermis of his palm skin, just like wearing a black silk glove. Yin spiritual energy? A rare key training person, come on, let me try the quality. The stall owner's eyes widened, his black face turned red with excitement, and he took out a butcher knife for cutting fish and deboning, and put the blade against Chen Mo's left palm. Sizzle, the 100 forged fine steel sank a thin layer, and a palm print appeared on the blade. Ling. The fish stall owner has no ill intentions, don't resist. The stall owner tried 3 more times, making the fish knife bumpy, and panted excitedly, "My fish scale net is settled. I was originally planning to kill a new blood sheep from the subcontinent with a huge amount of spiritual stones, but I didn't expect to run into you, my little baby." The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. The fish stall owner hurriedly closed the stall, and the poor warrior who wanted to come over to buy fish was glared at by his copper bell eyes, and he was so scared that he tucked his tail between his legs and ran away. "Kid, just call me Brother Mo Bai. Today, when I was setting up the stall, I met a magpie on the road. I knew that good things would happen. As expected, I met a younger brother who is wider than me." Mo Bai laughed. "Come with me to Mr. Yu to help." Then he wanted to pull Chen Mo away. Hiding to the left, Chen Mo pointed at the sword eel and said weakly, "Brother Mo Bai, I have been coveting this fish for a long time." His old face turned red, and a sharp aqua blue light popped out from the nail of Mo Bai's right thumb. He held the sword eel, which was still breathing, in his left hand, and with a slight flick of his thumb, he cut off a fist-sized piece of white and tender fish meat from the gills. "Take it, the rest is all junk chicken. If you eat it, you will have a stomachache. If you think it's not enough, when you help Mr. Yu, I will go out to sea to catch it for you." After that, Chen Mo grabbed the high-quality sashimi and was dragged to a smoky blacksmith shop by the impetuous Mo Bai. "Master Yu, didn't you say you couldn't fix the connection holes of the fish scale net? I found a Yinling Mei Kigen practitioner for you." Master Yu, wearing a black apron, came out. He was nearly 1.9 meters tall, and his body was like a brown bear before hibernation. He looked very funny in the black apron that didn't fit in. Just this unfamiliar face? He's not one of those kids from the city, he must be the new blood from the subcontinent. Yu Gong shook his head and did not comment. "If this little guy who has just started practicing Qi shakes his hands and ruins the materials, I will not be responsible." The veins on Mo Bai's forehead twitched slightly, and he took a deep breath. "It's decided on him. With the rarity of Yinling Mei, I don't know how long I will have to wait if I miss this store." After that, Mo Bai looked at Chen Mo affectionately. "Little brother, since your face is wider and more handsome than mine, you have to help me solve the problem of fish scale perforation. After it's done, you can pick whatever you want from my fish stall." As if the bargaining chips were not tempting enough, Mo Bai continued, "You can also specify the goods. I'm a 3rd-level Kigen practitioner, and I will go out to sea to catch them for you." Chen Mo took a bite of the sword eel sashimi, and the fragrance lingered on his lips and teeth. He was reluctant to give up this rare opportunity to eat for free. "I don't have any spirit stones in my pocket anyway, and I can't afford to pay for the materials if the refinement fails, so let's do it." Following Yu Gong, Chen Mo saw the raw materials that needed to be processed. Chapter 14, Spiritual Weapons and Talismans. A pile of macy gray-black fish scales, the size of a fingernail, exudes a hint of chill. Yu Gong introduced in a hoarse voice, "These are the scales of a 100-year-old mullet that just shed. It is a demon beast of the 3rd level of Qi training. It needs to be pierced before it can be tied together, but the scales are too small, and the spiritual fire in the furnace is unstable, so it can't make such a small hole." Obviously, Yu Gong has no way to deal with this pile of mullet scales. "Mo Bai, this kid has poor cultivation. He has a lot of requirements. It's good to have a talisman, and he wants it custom-made." At the same time, Yu Gong also popularized the common sense of refining tools to Chen Mo. The talismans used by Qi practitioners are mostly taken from demon beasts. Unlike the 1st to 9th grade fierce beasts of the corresponding warriors, demon beasts are not only strong in body, but also can absorb and exhale the essence of spiritual energy and use magic. Therefore, the fur and bones are very resistant to the Qi Yuan of Qi practitioners, and it is not easy to deal with. Mo Bai chose Chen Mo because he valued the corrosiveness of yin spiritual energy. If operated properly, piercing is not a problem. "Boy, practice with these miscellaneous beast scales first. If you can make 12 identical wick-sized holes in a row, you can practice with mullet scales." Before he finished speaking, Yu Gong was so shocked that his mouth was dislocated. Chen Mo's 10 fingers flew, and he knocked on a palm-sized scale of an unknown beast for 100 times, leaving 12 parallel hair-like holes. "Oh my goodness, it's too thin. Mo Bai, where did you get this new blood, this Qi Yuan control?" With the help of the chip, Chen Mo strictly controlled the output of Qi Yuan, accurate to 0.01, and the time interval between two adjacent outputs was controlled within the error of one breath. Therefore, the 12 small holes, from the side, the cut surface is as smooth as a mirror, without pits and corrosion bubbles. The waves behind will beat the waves ahead. Just drill holes directly on the mullet scales. And Mobai, you have to be prepared for a big bleed. The young man's needlework was so good that Yu Gong seemed to have aged 10 years. He returned to the fire and started hammering, preparing to connect the gold thread of these fish scales. Taking a deep breath, Chen Mo began to drill holes. As soon as his fingertips touched the mullet scales, he clearly felt a slippery blockage. I think this is the spiritual resistance of the monster. However, Chen Mo slightly increased his strength and pressed down an inch. Obviously, as long as the Qi Yuan is sufficient, it will be a slow and steady job. Glancing at Mobai, Chen Mo sighed and said, "The workload is huge," and then worked hard. Mobai blushed in embarrassment and went out carefully. He went to his home and the fish stall to rummage through the boxes and cabinets to collect the processing fee. After the holes were pierced in 100 scales, Yu Gong strung them all together with a several meter-long gold fine thread, and then simmered them over the fire. The fuel was the flesh and blood of the beast, the flame was a cluster of spiritual fire summoned by Yu Gong, and there were two fifth-grade divine warriors beside him who took turns pulling the bellows. "Little guy, seeing your surprised look, do you think my weapon-making method is very primitive, just like a mortal blacksmith?" Yu Gong asked, staring at the fire with his arms folded across his chest. Oh, before Chen Mo could find an excuse, Yu Gong continued to talk. "Do you think the immortal gates are jade buildings, cranes and cloud barrages? Golden boys and beautiful girls, all of whom are detached from the mundane world? Wrong, absolutely wrong. Take the Valley of Beasts for example. All kinds of strange animals sleep in the same bed with you. When the disciples wake up, there might be a pile of excrement of an unknown monster next to them. Kigen practitioners feed on spiritual energy. In addition to having a longer lifespan, they can use magic. Compared with mortals, their food, clothing, housing and transportation are only a little more refined." Yu Gong pointed to the cully who had a white towel on his shoulder but had no time to wipe his sweat and said, "They work for me for 3 years in exchange for a spiritual weapon that can be used by warriors. And Mobai, a third-level Kigen practitioner, brings me seafood every day, just for this fish scale net in the furnace, a low-level talisman made of special material. There is no difference between the two in essence. They are both asking for help." Yu Gong patted Chen Mo on the shoulder and reminded him, "The road to immortality is long and not easy. You will understand when you arrive at Xianfang continent. That is why casual cultivators like Mobai, who have no background, spend their days on this desolate island." After that, Chen Mo was led to a storage room inside the blacksmith shop. Yu Gong pointed to the various dusty utensils and said, "Pick any one of these things. Poor Mobai can't afford your processing fee even if he empties his fish stall. I'll pay for him, just in time to order Mobai's daily supply of fresh fish for 10 years. Swords, spears, halberds, pots, pans, and various utensils were piled up into a small mountain. It was unknown how many years Yu Gong had accumulated these money-losing goods and failed forgings. The latest novels are first published on Liuji 9 Shuba. "Little guy, there are few talismans and many spiritual weapons here. If you have a good eye and pick out a talisman, you can take it directly. Old Yu, will never say no." In order to increase the fun of treasure hunting, Yu Gong tried his best to belittle the value of spiritual weapons. Spiritual weapons are special weapons that amplify the strength of a warrior's internal energy. At most, they are an enhanced version of secular divine weapons. They are the only means for mortal warriors to threaten high-level Kigen practitioners. Except for a small number of extremely rare ones, 10 spiritual stones can buy a spiritual weapon, which is less valuable than low-grade beast meat. The worst thing is that Kigen practitioners will not buy spiritual weapons at all, and they can't make do with them. The chip simply scanned the storage room and found no less than 100 spiritual weapons. He had a deeper understanding of Yu Gong's black heart. With his wealth, he could just take 2 pieces to get rid of the 2 warriors, but he was stingy and ruthlessly exploited their surplus labor. "Don't look at me with such contempt. Little guy, spiritual weapons are rampant, and it's you and me who are unlucky. Imagine an army of 10,000 warriors, each armed to the teeth. Even a 12th level Kigen practitioner would have to take a detour if they met one. It is said that the Kayanigan Empire's Immortal Locking Division recruited a group of Kigan scum to build a chariot crossbow for the Mortal Warrior Army to kill Kigan practitioners. Yu Gong's words aroused Chen Mo's fear of being dominated by the Dragon Key crossbow arrows. When he thought of the terrifying scene of the Mortal Warrior Army firing thousands of arrows at the same time, he shuddered. Ling. High-intensity Earth spiritual force field detected. Direction, 5 meters from the northwest corner. Under the dynamic perspective of spiritual energy, the full room of utensils formed force fields of different colors and depths. In the almost negligible light color system of spiritual weapons, a yellowish-brown light stood out from the crowd. Chen Mo dug through a pile of inferior spiritual weapons and found a palm-sized tortoise shell with a broken corner. There was a depression in the center, which seemed to be filled with something. Hey, boy, you have a good perception of earth element spiritual energy. It seems that you are a little genius with dual spiritual veins. Good eyesight. Chen Mo laughed, but he would not confess that his earth element was just a useless spiritual vein. The tortoise shell is yours. Although the purpose is unknown, based on the theory of the chip that the stronger the spiritual energy field, the greater the power of the talisman, Chen Mo directly decided on this tortoise shell. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, The Demon Sect, Wrongdoing. Buy it and leave, payment is done. Yu Gong showed an intriguing smile, and as Chen Mo nodded, he opened his mouth and laughed. I picked this thing up on the beach. At that time, I saw that it was good at absorbing earth spirit energy, and I thought it was a treasure. I didn't expect that the spirit energy only went in but not out, and it was useless. Little guy, you picked this thing that lost money, you can't blame me. Ling. The size of the depression in the center of the tortoise shell is 3.14 standard low-level earth spirit stones. After inlaying, a benign mutation will occur. Chen Mo smiled without saying anything, resisting the urge to slap him in the face, pretending to be angry and not wanting to care about the profiteer Yu Gong, waiting at the door of the blacksmith shop for Mo Bai to pay the balance. The activation of the tortoise shell requires 3.14 low-level spirit stones, not even a gram less. Yu Gong, you are not a caster, how can you guess the correct way to open it? The two people had different thoughts and waited for Mo Bai to arrive. Bang! 10 low-level spirit stones with a strong fishy smell were stuffed into Chen Mo's arms. Without even saying thank you, Mo Bai could not wait to wait in front of the furnace, urging Yu Gong to open the furnace and take out the talisman. After tossing the 5 pale yellow earth spirit stones he had just acquired, Chen Mo resisted the urge to uncover the true face of the tortoise shell, suppressed the excitement of picking up a leak, and squeezed to the side of the furnace. The auspicious time has arrived, open the furnace. With a low shout, Yu Gong inserted his bare hands into the blazing spirit flames and devoutly held out a fine fishing net. Essence blood, quick! Mo Bai punched hard on his chest, spraying out a half-meter-long string of blood beads, which, with the help of Yu Gong, evenly covered every inch of the mullet scales on the fish scale net. Blood sacrifice, heart-to-heart communication, Mo Bai shouted big, and the fish scale net swelled in the wind. In a few breaths, it changed from the size of a wash basin to a fishing net covering most of the blacksmith shop. The gleaming black scales collided with each other, making people dizzy. When the two powerful warriors heard the crisp sound, they fell to the ground drunk. Okay, stop showing off, put it away, remember, you have to provide me with fresh food for 10 years. Mo Bai was happy and painful to shrink the fish scale net and put it on his dark left arm, just like wearing a black silk sleeve. With a spirit stone in his pocket, Chen Mo's mind became active, and he walked through the streets boldly to choose suitable Kigan supplies. However, Chen Mo found that the prices of most talismans and spirit materials were a bit inflated. The chip gave a 20%-30% premium through big data cost effectiveness, and suggested that Chen Mo should enjoy the side and not buy. Therefore, in the end, none of the 10 spirit stones in the waste bag were spent, but Chen Mo's hands were full of various fried fish balls and grilled squid shreds bought at a high price with purple gold ingots. Living by the sea, the seafood cooking skills of the people in Lingang are very good, allowing Chen Mo to experience the delicious food on the tip of his tongue. Patting his bulging belly, seeing that it was still early to set sail, Chen Mo strolled to a deserted beach outside the city to study the tortoise shell he had just bought. Playing with it carefully, the surface of the shell gave people a cool touch of metal. Filling the carefully cut 3.14 portions of standard earth spirit stone into the central depression, the tortoise shell emitted a low buzzing sound. Drop. Please drop blood to recognize the master. A drop of blood fell on the tortoise shell, and Chen Mo felt that he had an extra arm. With a thud, the tortoise shell spun around his head and turned in a circle. At the same time, the word backer appeared on the back of the tortoise shell, which was obviously the name of this talisman. The first time Chen Mo came into contact with the magic of the talisman, he controlled the backer tortoise shell, dancing around, and easily smashed a reef as high as a person. Attention, the host's key yuan is scarce. The main power of the backer tortoise shell comes from the low-level earth spirit stone. It is expected to be consumed within 1 incense stick. A large soul swallower, poor people can't afford it. Chen Mo didn't bother to study what formation was engraved on the tortoise shell, and put away the first talisman in his life. Ling. Slight transverse and longitudinal waves are detected, suspected to be the prelude to a micro-tsunami. Please stay away from the beach. In order to vividly depict the upcoming stormy waves, the chip began to simulate graphics. The epicenter is located at the bottom of the distant sea, nearly 10 miles away from the shore. What's weird is that the dark and long epicenter is actually moving. It tumbled up and down, and protruded left and right, like a wounded beast. Finally, the epicenter rushed out of the sea, revealing its true face. It was a huge black and white whale as big as a hill, with 3 long chains attached to its back, and 4 huge holes gurgling with blood. The giant tail slapped the sea surface, and with a shrill whale roar, the last 3 chains finally broke, and the giant whale was free and disappeared under the sea level. At this time, the vibration caused by the giant whale's rolling began to spread. The calm sea surface seemed to boil, and a wave wall several meters high was raised, rushing towards the fishing port. The small sampan that had not yet entered the port disappeared in the wind and waves in a blink of an eye. Only the giant cross-sea ship, with a green light flashing on its body, stood still in this small tsunami, and also sheltered many fishing boats behind it. The reminder of the chip was very timely. Chen Mo ran to high ground before the wave swept the beach. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. The view here is excellent, and you can see the coastal town in chaos in the distance. The impact of the waves is secondary. The things in the seawater are the real source of trouble. Water splashed, and black insect eggs hit pedestrians, houses, streets, doors and windows. The muffled sound of dong 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 came one after another, pulling at the heartstrings, like the king of hell urging death. From the broken eggshells, countless 3-meter-long blood-red ants drilled out, and their scarlet compound eyes were cast at the nearby creatures. Swish! A firework exploded above the giant cross-sea ship, which was a signal for an emergency assembly. Ling. The area of the island here is limited. The self-rescue plan is as follows. 1. Hide in the belly of the island, with a survival rate of 12%. 2. Go to the giant cross-sea ship, with a survival rate of 43%. 3. Jump into the sea to escape, with a survival rate of 8%. The host is in extreme danger. For every breath delayed, the survival rate decreases by 0.001%, and the decline increases exponentially. Please make a decision early, host. Chen Mo gritted his teeth, clenched the tortoise shell in his right hand, and rushed to the port where the blood ants were rampant. While running all the way, Chen Mo saw an extremely absurd scene. The blood ants did not chase the weak mortals or the warriors with rich blood and flesh essence, but kept searching for Kigen practitioners, including the new bloods who had just awakened their spirits and were building their foundations. Puff! 3 blood ants sprayed out more a ball of turbid acid at the same time, and the target was a Kigen practitioner who had just gone out to check the situation. Before he had time to condense a defensive spell, the 3rd-level Kigen practitioner was drenched by the formic acid. He touched the wound with both hands and actually tore off a layer of flesh and blood. He wailed in pain and died in a short while. The big figures of Kigen practitioners were easily sprayed to death by the blood ants, and the mortals and warriors next to them were so scared that they collapsed to the ground and gave up struggling. But the blood ants, as if they didn't see them, gnawed on the remaining bodies of the Kigen practitioners. Drop. The ghost fire ant likes to eat the flesh and blood of the Kigen practitioners. It is extremely ferocious and is a 3rd-grade demon beast, corresponding to the 3rd-level Kigen practitioners. Its essence is 8.3 and its ki is 3.8. It is extremely dangerous. Alarm. Alarm! The ghost fire ant is a special insect poison of the blood-clothes sect. The host is under attack by the demon sect. The survival rate of going to the cross-sea giant ship has dropped to 3%. It is strongly recommended that the host return the original way. Chen Mo wanted to cry but had no tears. The 3 ghost fire ants that had just drunk the blood of the Kilgan practitioners had blocked the main road out of the city. What a sin. At this point, I can only rush all the way to the end. Being forced into a dead end, Chen Mo didn't care about being stingy with his ki, and he used all his strength to activate the backer tortoise shell embedded with spiritual stones. The tortoise shell swelled in the wind and covered Chen Mo tightly, but when he looked from the inside out, it was as clear as ever. At this point, he could only believe in the defensive power of this talisman. Chapter 16. Once you enter the devil's door, it's like entering a deep sea. Although Chen Mo's Qi Yuan was sucked dry by the turtle shell, he had plenty of physical strength. He took a step and rushed towards the sea-crossing giant ship that separated him from half a city. Puff 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 formic acid splashed, but it did not penetrate the turtle shell. Chen Mo was relieved. In addition, this layer of highly corrosive transparent liquid gave Chen Mo the convenience of running wild. Whatever was blocking the way, it turned into flying smoke under the formic acid. Earth walls, tree trunks, iron fences, all the buildings leading to the sea-crossing giant ship were hit by Chen Mo to create a human-shaped hole. Soon, the hole was in sight. However, before Chen Mo showed his joyful expression, the gangway of the giant ship was retracted, and the low roar of the whistle sounded. The science shield protecting the hull dragged a long tail light, pushing it forward, and the acceleration was not at all under the traction of the black and white giant whale. Want to leave? Ha! In the air, a ball of ghost fire appeared, and a huge white bone hand as big as a hill stretched out from it, with 5 fingers like knives, stabbing at the bow of the ship that had just sailed out of the port. Wei Qingyi's tiny figure stood at the bow, but his inseparable Lengayu sword was not beside him. He chanted softly to the demonic hand that covered the sky and the sun, "One sword will frost the 19 states and wipe out all the evil demons in the world." A disdainful sneer came from the ghost fire. "You are just a young man who has practiced ki for the 10th level. You are looking for death." However, a talisman appeared at the bow, and burned out in an instant, forming a half-blade. Wei Qingyi's cold whistle seemed to be the premise for the broken sword to swing. The same 14-character mantra appeared on the blade, like the morning light that cut through the darkness and pierced through the dense yin energy. The huge bone hand turned into pieces of broken leaves, flying around. The remaining force was not reduced, and the broken blade also stabbed the small ghost fire behind the bone hand. "Seal. What is your relationship with Tanya Swordmaster?" The ghost fire's voice trembled, and when the sword blade approached, it broke into pieces, and in an instant it recondensed 100 meters away. However, compared with the blazing flames before, the will-o'-the-wisp has dimmed and suffered heavy damage. Wei Qingyi split the road of life and death with a sword, and the speed of the sea-crossing giant ship increased sharply, rushing into the vast ocean, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a black dot. The will-o'-the-wisp floated in the air, but did not chase. Ling. The sea-crossing giant ship left the port, the host was trapped, and the survival rate dropped to 0.9%. The dock. The will-o'-the-wisp ants gathered more and more. Although there were many new bloods who had not had time to board the ship to accompany him, Chen Mo did not feel a sense of security, and desperately urged the ship to find a way to survive. Ling. There is little hope, and the calculation of the escape route failed. In the crowded crowd, a Kilgan practitioner finally couldn't help but take action. "Hazel girl, let go. Only if I am alive, the Lu family will be there." It is a person from a family of scattered cultivators on the island. An old man with a childlike face and white hair threw the pig-tailed girl to the ground, sighed, and then shook off the dust. 3,000 white silks formed a small boat, wrapped him, and paddled out of the harbor. The abandoned girl stared blankly at her grandfather who was fleeing in panic. "Grandpa, you have loved your daughter the most since she was a child." However, the ghost fire in the air jumped slightly, splitting a fire seed and shooting at a dust silk that sailed 100 feet away. With a scream, the ancestor of the Lu family, who had been a powerful figure on the island for 30 years, turned into powder, along with the talisman. Seeing this scene, Lu Zhen'er didn't know whether to hate this elder who flew alone when the disaster was imminent, or hate the ghost fire who killed the enemy of the family. "I am Guzai, the head of the Gu grass lineage of the blood-clothes sect. I am here to guide you into my demon sect." Our sect does not charge tuition fees, but it is not the righteous sect of those poor people who are crazy. As soon as the ghost fire opened his mouth, the demon flames were surging. The new blood surrounded by the ghost fire ants were trembling with fear. Old demon goo, you are a senior master with late magical powers, how come you can't even stop a small boat? A sarcastic laugh came from the sea level in the distance. Looking over, it was a lonely and arrogant middle-aged man in black clothes with his hands behind his back. Under his feet was the black and white giant whale that had just escaped from the enslavement of the gray whale. The 7 blood holes on the back of the giant whale were occupied by 7 ferocious ghost fire ants. They greedily sucked the whale blood rich in spiritual energy, but also controlled the expansion of its wounds. The giant whale was not angry either, as if it had reached a strange symbiotic relationship with the ghost fire ants. Humph, the life-saving seal that the sword madman left for the younger generation, you try to block it. The ghost fire was too lazy to argue with the middle-aged man in black, and drilled into the whale's mouth and disappeared. Alice, the aftermath work is thrown to me again, I am really born to be a hard worker. The middle-aged man in black sighed and began to arrange the anxious new blood. The latest novels are published on the 69th book forum. He smiled what he thought was a friendly smile, but a white maggot fell out of his mouth. Sorry, my pet is in a hurry. He squeezed the fat body of the maggot with his slender jade hands, causing it to shoot a ball of fishy yellow liquid from its tail, and then stuffed the pet back into his mouth without any disgust. The middle-aged man in black, there is an unknown force field on the surface of the body, which cannot be broken through, and data cannot be collected. It is extremely dangerous. It is recommended that the host give up resistance. This gray whale has been transformed by me. Little guys line up and go in one by one. The middle-aged man stomped his foot, and the giant whale surfaced, opening its serrated and smelly mouth. It also knew how to control water and manipulate seawater, laying a wall of water from the dock to the whale's mouth. No one dared to disobey this great man, and they walked into the whale's mouth nervously. Chen Mo lowered his head and blended into the crowded crowd in a low-key manner. If you are not a new blood, jump into the sea voluntarily, so that I don't have to do it. The middle-aged man in black waved his hand lightly, and an Islander Kigan practitioner was controlled by an invisible force and fell into the water. He did not kill like Guzai, but let the drowned chicken swim back to the shore. The ghost fire ants gathered at the dock seemed to be full, and their 6 limbs curled up and turned into black insect eggs again. In an instant, the dark cloud formed by the insect eggs flew from every corner of the small town to the huge mouth of the gray whale. When he woke up, he saw the bright red flesh wall. The small space made it difficult for him to even turn over. Chen Mo muttered to himself, what a joke, I joined the demon sect in this way. But compared to the Valley of Beasts, Shuayan Cave Heaven, and Tanya Sword Sect, the magic method is more suitable for me. Since entering the belly of the gray whale, all the new blood has been locked in separate flesh sacs. As for food, it is fed by the ghost fire ants from the top of the head. The living conditions are much worse than those of the famous and righteous. Fortunately, there is still a chip to accompany Chen Mo. It has entertainment games such as Go and chess. Although Chen Mo always loses miserably in every game, it is a good way to kill time when bored. Therefore, Chen Mo did not feel bored after being locked up for more than 30 days. Suddenly, a deep male voice sounded in the gray whale, Demon cubs, the mountain gate has arrived, and the fish are released. The locked prison door opened, and Chen Mo jumped lightly and landed on the back of the ghost fire ants who had been waiting outside. See the light of day again. The warm morning light fell on Chen Mo's body, and he felt as if he were in another world. Chapter 17 Getting Started Lesson 1. A bay somewhere on the west coast of Sci-fi continent. The Blood Robe Sect. The gate is located on a high cliff facing the sea. There is no plant growing on the mirror-like steep wall, but there are countless large and small holes, and people, insects, and animals come in and out from time to time. Their image is worthy of the name of the demon sect, surrounded by Yan Qingyi, groups of black bats, with demonic energy rolling as they move. The demon sons and grandsons covered in cloaks sit on the shoulders of the white skeletons, riding on the dark clouds and returning to the demon cave. The most secretive ones are the ghost fire ants, carrying various supplies at the bottom of the cliff. After all the new bloods came ashore, the gray whale swung its tail fin and disappeared. Hundreds of boys and girls stood on the barren beach, all of them looked sick and panicked. It was obvious that they had been locked in the belly of the fish for more than a month and were very uncomfortable. In order not to attract attention, Chen Mo controlled the flow of qi and blood on his face and pretended to be pale and anemic. There were many old disciples of the demon sect pointing and talking at the new bloods. Although they were of different genders, ages, and abilities, each of them had a fierce aura in their bones. Under their malicious gazes, many of the new bloods who had just landed felt their feet weaken and collapsed into the mud. They are worthy of being the best seedlings selected by the famous and upright families, but they are all a bunch of wimps. I bet 60% of them will not live until the end of this year. Zhang Qianshan, one must not forget his roots. When you were kidnapped, you were the first one to pee among the new blood. Is there anyone among you who still treasures the photo stone that records the embarrassment of senior brother Zhang? Take it out and entertain your junior brothers and sisters. The square face of the young man with a crew cut who was teased by his fellow disciples turned red, and he shouted, "All of you get out of here, do what you should do. Haven't you seen me train a new disciple?" A yin banner with 3 ghost heads printed on it appeared behind Zhang Qianshan, and a shrill hissing came from it. The cold wind blew, and the onlookers immediately scattered. "Hey, you took out the ghost yin banner, want to show off your authority? You can't afford to offend me. Slip away, senior brother Zhang is angry, the new bloods will wish you good luck." The lambs who fell into the demon sect trembled, and had a bad premonition. Zhang Qianshan took a step forward and grinned grimly. "From now on, you are members of the Blood Robe sect in life and ghosts of the Blood Robe sect in death. No matter what your previous identity was, in this demon cave, you only have one identity, the lowest level outer sect disciple." A green-haired ghost head emerged from the ghost yin banner behind him, and sprayed a puff of mist towards a square obelisk 100 meters high standing in the middle of the mud flat. Its smooth surface was instantly covered with dense lights. Zhang Deqian licked his lips, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. "Open your eyes and take a good look. This is the consequence of not abiding by the 3 commandments of our sect." Then, he recited 3 murderous bloody lessons, word by word. "Those who betray the righteous path will have their spirits imprisoned. Those who secretly communicate with alien races will have their souls extracted and their spirits refined. Those who surrender to the Kyanigan Dragon Court will have their souls extracted and their spirits refined." Then, Zhang Qianshan pointed to a lamp on the top of the stone tablet and gave an example. "This is the life soul lamp, which imprisons the 3 souls and 6 spirits of those who violate these 3 commandments. The latter 2 are the worst off, and will be tortured by the devil's flames day and night, and the stronger they are, the more painful it will be. No one remembers the surname of the owner of this life soul lamp, but we only know that it has been here for 500 years, exposed to the wind and sun. Take this as a lesson for yourselves, and think carefully." Zhang Qianshan smiled sinisterly, and then added, "In fact, the rules of our sect are very simple, much simpler than the tortuous hundreds of rules and 10 precepts of the famous and righteous sects. As long as you don't break the 3 precepts above, even if you kill your own teacher, the discipline hall won't say a word, and the sect master will even invite you to take over your master's position. I know that when Uncle Guxi kidnapped you, he must have harmed innocent people, and among the dead, there might be your relatives, friends, and blood relatives. Today, I'm telling you, as long as you are willing to practice hard, it won't be a problem for you to carry the head of this Gukeo master back to the sect in the future." Zhang Qianshan tore open a talisman, and there were a pile of blood-stained books in front of him. The cover was inscribed with 8 wanton and arrogant black characters, "Self-cultivation of the Devil Cub." While distributing books, Zhang Qianshan taught earnestly, "It's okay to bully your teacher and ancestors, and kill your fellow disciples as long as you do it outside the sect and get seen by others. How can you call yourself a giant of the magic sect if you don't stain the blood of your fellow disciples?" Some young girls who were naive really believed this and were so scared that they quickly pushed away their temporary bestie and stayed away from the crowd. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. In our magic sect, we never judge by seniority or talent. We only recognize the size of our fists. As long as you dare to fight and fight, you can also be like me, your senior brother, and build your foundation in a week, practice the 3rd level of Qi in 3 months, and practice the 6th level of Qi in 3 years to become an inner disciple. Zhang Qianshan saw the cute look of the little white rabbits who were both afraid and eager, and he giggled. Then he jumped onto the green-haired ghost head beside him, whistled, and flew into a cave on the cliff. No one cared about them anymore. Many new bloods were at a loss. Those with poor psychological endurance sat in the mud, weeping and sighing. The book has been read. It is recommended that the host go to the goo room and choose an empty room with the number A. The chip scanned the nude bloods in a mess and found that there were only about 300 of them. Obviously, some of the lucky ones got on the ship early and entered the famous and righteous way. Only Chu Zijin was left of the dozen familiar faces when they set out from Jinan Kingdom. However, Chen Mo was too lazy to pay attention to this cheap princess and ran towards the goo room. As soon as Chen Mo started, many smart people followed suit and began to explore different areas of the Demon Gate. The mud flat was very large. After more than half an hour, Chen Mo stepped on the hard gray land and came to an open space full of black holes. The goo room was right under his feet. The blood-clothes gate occupies a large area and is divided into 3 levels, upper, middle and lower. The upper part of the cliff is the main body of the mountain gate. It is rich in spiritual energy and is the cave home of the supernatural monks and high-level Kigen practitioners. It also houses the Sutra Library, treasure cave and other confidential places. The mudflats, offshore in the middle layer, and even the large area extending to the inland are all places where the outer disciples, chores, and old-timers of the inner gate are active. If you are lucky, you can also catch the newcomers of the Immortal Gate who want to slay demons and exorcise monsters in these areas. They are often followed by the Kigen practitioners of the Kayanigan Empire's locking Immortal Division. The lower layer, that is, underground, is a vast world, called the Underground Cave. It has never seen the sun all year round and has bred a large number of evil demons. However, for the Demon Gate, it is an excellent place to sacrifice treasures and search for spiritual materials. Therefore, the blood-clothed sect deliberately chose this feng shui treasure land and set up the mountain gate. The goo room, which is more than 100 meters deep underground, is built at a yin qi node close to the surface of the cave. It is a small place for the blood-clothed sect to raise demon insects and is suitable for Yin Ling-mei disciples to live in caves. After twists and turns along the way, Chen Mo arrived at the entrance of the goo room. Chapter 18, Settling Down Underground. Next to the stone gate carved with all kinds of strange insects, a short and fat disciple who was sleeping soundly on the back of a ghost fire ant heard Chen Mo's footsteps, rubbed his sleepy eyes, and said, "Newcomer? How do you choose an insect nest to live in? Aren't you afraid of being carried away by blood mosquitoes when you practice qi at night?" "Junior brother, I, Zhou Fengjin, am 20 years older than you. I advise you to settle down somewhere else." Although he has already entered the greasy middle age, Zhou Fengjin pretended to be pretentious. He gathered a bowl of water with his fingers and used it to smooth his curled hair. When he was satisfied, he jumped off the ant's back and educated Chen Mo with the attitude of an experienced person. "Is it Chen Qianshan, the boy who loves to show off, who is taking over this batch of new blood from you? Are you inspired by his bold words and are you excited? Do you want to come to the torturous hell of the goo room to train yourself? Young people, don't get excited when others instigate. Competition in the demon sect is fierce, and it can be called raising goo, but if you don't want to, even the sect master can't force you to make goo. Like my senior brother, relax your mind, take a small job as a dormitory manager, eat and drink enough every day, don't fight or rob, and live your life as usual." After saying that, Zhou Fengjin frowned and deliberately emphasized that he had also reached the 6th level of qi training, which was not inferior to Zhang Qianshan, and wanted to directly persuade Chen Mo to quit. "Senior brother, I am Yin Ling-mei, and the goo room is the most suitable place for me to practice. I have made up my mind." Zhou Fengjin's qi yuan is 6.6, and Chen Mo can only convince him with reason. I don't know how such a salted fish mentality is not kicked out. The demon sect is so big that all kinds of lazy birds and old birds come. The most important thing is, how can you, a 30-year-old qi training 6th level, compare with Zhang Qianshan who reached the same level of cultivation before the age of 20? In order to prove that what he said was true, 7 spiritual veins appeared on the back of Chen Mo's hand. In the unique geographical environment of the goo room, the yin linki covered half of his body in a short while. Zhou Fengjin raised his thick eyebrows, threw a bronze token to Chen Mo, and pretended to be calm. "Since you are determined to raise insects, I will not stop you. If you shine the token on the stone chamber you like, you can open the restriction on the door. From now on, only you can enter and exit." Chen Mo entered a deeper corridor and disappeared in a blink of an eye. At this time, Zhou Fengjin slapped his head and remembered, "Oh, I forgot. Some stone chamber owners were swallowed by the insects they raised in the middle of the night. I was too lazy to clean them up. If this kid encounters him, he will be killed for nothing." But just when Zhou Fengjin was about to take a step to chase, he felt his belly heavy like lead. He yawned and leaned on the back of the ghost fire ant again, sighing, "Forget it, it's fate, just like my terminal lazy cancer. Since this kid is determined to die, let him go." Chen Mo had already walked far away and did not hear the murmur behind him. At this time, he was immersed in the ocean of yin spiritual energy, and the pores all over his body opened lazily, feeling the rhythm of the active spiritual energy factors. Ling. The 12th stone chamber of the A-type has the highest concentration of yin spiritual energy. It sits south and faces north, and is destined to be evil and the disaster star is shining. It is the reverse scale of the yin spiritual energy branch here. Practicing Qi here can increase efficiency by 36%. Chen Mo walked towards the target corridor and found that many stone chambers beside him had been abandoned, with stone doors wide open and covered with dust. It seems that there are still few yin spiritual vein disciples in the demon sect. Along the way, he was often stained with unknown insect fluid, crushed rotten insect eggs, and heard the excited hissing of insects mating in his ears, and he knew the bad living environment here. I guess just the fact that there are so many insects has persuaded many fake demon cubs to retreat, right? Chen Mo's future doghouse was strangely locked, and there was a warning on the stone door that trespassers will be fed insects. I don't know which ancestor carved it. According to the book, Self-Cultivation of Demon Cub, the goo room is also used to raise demon insects, so the stone door is built very firmly, and can even withstand the full force of the supernatural monk. Amazed, Chen Mo was about to open the 12th room of the A character, when the chip warned. Traces of insect tracks were detected at the door, freshness 23%. It should be left by a ghost fire ant when it passed by half a month ago. The probability of the existence of this demon insect in the stone room is 89%. It is recommended that the host open the door with caution. Put a bronze plate on the stone door, and the 3 words A12 appeared on the ancient plate, proving that the pit was successfully occupied. Chen Mo carefully pushed open a crack and took a peek. In the center of the stone room of less than 10 square meters, a blood-red ghost fire ant was sleeping, and next to it was a skeleton without flesh and blood, covered with a black robe, and no one knew how it died. Ling. Ghost fire ant, 3rd grade demon beast, essence 5.3, 7.1, key 2, 3.3, status, long-term malnutrition, declining strength. Chen Mo called up his own data. Host Chen Mo, 1st level Kigen practitioner, essence 3.3, key 1.9, direct combat victory rate 34%, suggests a host to outsmart. Previously, being locked in the belly of a fish, eating very poorly, the environment was full of free water spirit energy. Although Chen Mo's daily Kigen exercises were not compromised at all, his progress was not obvious. Even after converting all the internal breath into Qi, he still did not break through the 2.0 mark and became the 2nd level Kigen. Excluding the several time-consuming solutions provided by the chip, Chen Mo had a plan to deal with the cuckoo in the magpie's nest. He took 3 low-level fire spirit stones, separated them by half a meter, buried half of them in the soil, inserted sharp arrows into the connecting line between them, and then bit his finger to force out a few drops of blood containing Qi, and sprinkled them on the arrowheads and spirit stones. After applying the anesthetic, Chen Mo kicked the stone door open, and without even looking at the reaction of the ghost fire ant, he fled far away. The ghost fire ant, who was still sleeping soundly, was first enraged by a loud noise, and then smelled a faint smell of blood. Since the death of its master, it has never had a full meal, and its stomach is empty, so the ghost fire ant does not care to chase Chen Mo, who is only a back figure, and lowers its head to carefully lick the spirit stone and arrowhead with the blood of the Kigen practitioner. Because it is too hungry, the ghost fire ant crawls all the way and licks the blood beads clean, and does not feel the pain of the arrowhead tearing the lower body shell. The time for the homemade anesthetic to take effect is almost up, and Chen Mo reappeared, and deliberately shook the wound on his palm in front of the ghost fire ant. With a delicious fire spirit stone in his mouth and reluctant to swallow it, the ghost fire ant faced the temptation of the fresh blood and flesh of the Kigen practitioner. How can it resist? The 6 limbs are bent and are about to bounce up. The latest novel is published on 69 Shuba. This will be the first time to eat meat in 3 months. The ghost fire ant was reluctant to use formic acid to ruin the food in front of it, so it planned to tear the prey into pieces with its jaws and experience the taste of blood. However, as soon as it exerted force, the ghost fire ant felt its lower body lighten, and a large group of colorful internal organs fell out one after another. The ant's legs, which were thin due to hunger but still strong, suddenly became numb and could no longer support its heavy body. It fell to the ground with its legs spread out, and the ant's blood flowed. Ling. The life force field of the ghost fire ant disappeared, and it can be handled with confidence. The first demon insect hunted in his life, Chen Mo did not let go of any material, and removed the gallbladder, legs, and teeth of the ghost fire ant and transported them to his own stone chamber. After closing the door, the nose was filled with the smell of insects. Obviously, with the low intelligence of the ghost fire ants, they would not take care of the insect nest. After paying homage to the ancestors who died tragically in the stone chamber, Chen Mo began to clean the stone chamber. There was an unexpected surprise. This unknown disciple left 3 storage talismans that could be used repeatedly for more than 10 times, and there were 10 low-level spirit stones in them, which was considered a small inheritance left to Chen Mo, the successor. How lazy is Zhou Fangyun? As the dormitory manager of the Gurum, he didn't clean the stone chamber, and didn't even pick up the spirit stones that were given for free. Chen Mo now has a deep understanding of the purchasing power of spirit stones. In the demon sect, the spirit materials, talismans, and insect pets needed by the Qigong practitioners for cultivation all cost money. Without spirit stones, you can't move an inch. Since the Blood Cloth sect does not distribute cultivation materials to outer disciples, it calls itself reliance. Therefore, new blood without family background, just entering the sect, can only earn spirit stones by selling labor and serving people like warriors. Of course, the brave ones can also accept a killing mission, but the fate of the new blood running out of the sect is often to be exposed in the wilderness. If you are young, you are trapped by the mere spirit stones, and your cultivation progress is slow. When you reach the sprint stage of supernatural powers, you don't have enough vitality to burn, and you will definitely fail. No matter how talented you are, you can only waste your whole life in the key refining stage, and at most live a decade longer than ordinary people. It's time to start my insect feeding plan. Tossing the spirit stones in his hand, Chen Mo had a vague plan to make money. Chapter 19 Reading for free. The next morning. Even before the chickens got up, Chen Mo had already arrived at a water-friendly platform at the foot of the sea cliff. The air was filled with a salty smell of seawater, and a thin mist was lingering, just like an overseas fairy island, making people forget the cruel reality of being in the demon sect for a while. The sound of water sounded, and a 3-meter-long leech swam over the water in front of him, like a thick white meat blanket, with a long blood-sucking mouthpart stretching and retracting, which was very scary in the early morning. Leeches, ghost fire ants, and human-faced bats are the standard travel equipment for many low-level disciples of the Blood Cloth sect in the key training period. Even if the spiritual veins are useless, as long as they work hard for more than 10 years, they can also adopt a mount. The strength varies. The weak ones are only at the 3rd level of key training, and the strong ones have even touched the threshold of the supernatural power period, which took a lot of effort from the master. Where are you going, sir? The one who controlled the leech through a chain was a gray-clothed servant. A scan of the chip showed that he had the martial arts strength of the 7th grade condensation gang. It was probably because he had been selling himself to the demon sect for more than 10 years and had carried many passengers. Although Chen Mo got up earlier than a chicken, he did not ask any more questions, let alone chat. There were only 3 shuttle flights connecting the sea cliff and the ground every day. Chen Mo did not want to wait until the sun rose to go to the sutra library, and he did not have enough ki to perform the cloud flying technique. He had to get up early and did not get rid of the addiction of practicing ki in the stone chamber. In the 4 or 5 hours last night, the ki only increased by 0.01. Sutra library. Chen Mo reported the destination and jumped onto the soft insect body. The servants threw the chain to the left, and the leech pointed in a direction. After slightly shrinking the insect body, the lower body sprayed several strong water vapors, dragging the 2 people and soaring vertically into the air. Near the entrance of a cave in the middle of the cliff, the leech stopped and the servant shouted respectfully, "Sir, this is a confidential place. Mortals are not allowed to enter. I can only send you here." Chen Mo stepped onto the dry rock of the cliff, and felt his hair stand on end, as if his whole body was stripped naked. Ling. A secret force field scan was detected. No malicious intent, please relax. With a slight pause, Chen Mo went deep into the cave and came to hollowed-out mountain space. I don't know how the Blood Cloth sect keeps the rock wall above from collapsing. Within a radius of 3 miles, there is not a single stone pillar supporting the top. A bluestone pavilion that stretches for several miles occupies most of the space. It is illuminated by red lanterns burning high-concentration insect oil, which is gloomy. In such a ghost environment, even if a great scholar studies here, he can't cultivate a trace of righteousness. Chen Mo has become accustomed to the terrifying style of the blood-clothed sect, so he walked towards the bluestone pavilion gate that was made like a tombstone without hesitation. The bronze plate of the stone chamber in Chen Mo's pocket shone slightly, and the door of the tombstone opened with a bang, revealing a dark stone crack in the middle that was only wide enough for one person to pass through. It seems that the Snail House Cave Mansion access card is valid for all sects, and Chen Mo has saved a lot of trouble. What came into view were rows of wooden bookshelves filled with books, each of which was more than 10 feet long, and there were all kinds of classics on them, including exquisite white books, a large bundle of randomly stacked bamboo slips, and fragments of stone tablets and unknown animal skins covered with graffiti. The huge hall on the bottom floor of the Sutra Pavilion is more than 100 meters high. In this huge space, Chen Mo is as small as an ant. Fortunately, there is a ladder to use, otherwise I can't get the books. In order to facilitate the new blood who have not yet mastered the cloud flying technique to take books, a huge wooden ladder that can be extended up and down stands next to the bookshelf. It is estimated that there are more than 1 million books in the collection. It will take more than 100 days to read them all. The chip was indifferent without any emotion. Anyway, it was not the one who turned the pages, and Chen Mo had already had a bad premonition that his hands would become numb from turning the pages. Scan the books. Start from the first row. Sighing, Chen Mo walked to the nearest ancient book with a height of one person, and stood on tiptoe to read it. The demon is dominating the West Coast, and the famous and righteous are terrified. As a book with a number 1, the face of the Sutra Library, this book is straightforward and allows readers to understand the power of the blood-clothed sect. This masterpiece records the life of the successive masters of the blood-clothed sect. From their great and glorious first-person perspective, it introduces the changing situation and customs of the western border of the Sci-fi continent. In a word, the demon sect is the enemy of the world and has killed countless people, suppressing the evil in the underground caves, hunting the demons, suppressing the righteous immortals, and intending to subvert the 1,000-year foundation of the Kayanitan Empire. The word blood in the blood robe sect is dyed red by the blood of countless creatures. From this book Blood Dead of the Demon Sect, Chen Mo finally knew the power of dragon energy. The imperial edict written by the emperor of the Kayanitan Empire contains the most dragon energy on the west coast, and can even create a vacuum of spiritual energy in an instant. A key practitioner in a spiritless environment is like a fish out of the sea. Once the Qi Yuan is exhausted and unable to perform magic, he will be surrounded and killed by warriors who are regarded as grass. Spiritual energy and dragon energy cannot coexist. The latest novel is first published in the Liuji 9 Shuba. The war between the Kayanitan Empire and the Immortal Way has not ended for 1,000 years. In order to increase the host's survival rate against the hawk dogs of the Locking Immortal Division under the command of Kayanitan Longting, it is recommended that the host choose a top-level Kigen method with a body-refining effect. Chen Mo then remembered the purpose of flipping through the books here, to choose the appropriate spells and main skills. Reading books in the Sutra Library, no spirit stones are required. This is the iron rule that the Blood Robe sect has implemented since its establishment. Even the sect's unique skills, the Blood Demon Secret Book, can be read at will in the Sutra Library without spending a single spirit stone. Unlike the famous and righteous sects, disciples have to check whether their backgrounds are innocent, pay enough spirit stones, and complete a series of sect tasks for a core secret book. In the demon sect, none of these are needed. All the spells, skills, and even the experience of previous practitioners of the Blood Robe sect have been collected into books and lie on the bookshelf, allowing people to do whatever they want. There is no sectarianism or dispute over the way. Tolerance is greatness. This is the great mind of the demon sect. As long as you keep your demon heart in place, no one will care even if you practice thunder magic that specifically counters yin energy, ghost energy, and demon energy in the demon sect. Therefore, the richness of the book collection of the Blood Robe sect on the entire West Coast is unique. The only taboo is that internal information is prohibited from being leaked. Violators will be hunted down by the Discipline Hall. In addition, every disciple who enters the Sutra Library must swear a demon heart oath not to leak the skills at the oath platform in the lobby on the ground floor. Although the demon heart oath has little restraint for those who act without scruples, when it comes to the life and death moment of the demon heart invasion, this inconspicuous oath will often become the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Therefore, Chen Mo was serious when he swore, and he had no intention of playing word games. Right heart, Taoist heart, demon heart, you can deceive outsiders, but you can't deceive yourself. Silently reading the blood-lettered warning engraved on the oath platform, Chen Mo touched his left chest and found that his demon heart was very firm. He nodded and began the cultural journey in the Sutra Library. Chapter 20 I am the one who knows everything, you are not worthy. A few months later. On the second floor, there was a special shelf for secret books. There were 5 elements of magic, unorthodox methods, and secret teachings of the righteous way. The vast sea of books was scattered all over the floor like garbage. Chen Mo, who was addicted to reading, finally raised his head and showed a pair of dark circles under his eyes. Ling. The data has been collected and integrated. A total of 721,722 magics of various attributes, 159,241 major and minor skills, about 30 million common sense in various fields, and more than 24 million words of predecessor's experience. Please note that the host's magic and skills have been optimized. Putting down a demon's autobiography that began with I once crossed mountains and seas, and crossed mountains of corpses and seas of blood, Chen Mo breathed a long sigh of relief. It's finally over. During this period, the chip was running at full power 24 hours a day, desperately optimizing various types of information. As the host, Chen Mo also felt a burning brain, and his temples were always aching. I don't know if there is a way to upgrade the chip. The computing speed is still a bit slow. Chen Mo remembered the strange answer given by the chip when he complained about its slow computing speed. Please call Huawei customer service 12315 for consultation. Shaking his head, Chen Mo threw this confusing answer behind him. Forget it, don't be too greedy. With a chip, you have defeated 99.999% of the practitioners. Ling. The magic is mainly used against the enemy. After the data is transmitted, the host can reach the state of being able to do it at will after completing a certain amount of practice. The main and auxiliary cultivation methods are more complicated and require higher personal comprehension. In order to avoid going astray, please chew it over and over again before practicing. The main cultivation method that Chen Mo finally chose is called 9 Yin Meridian Casting Technique, which is a moderate and peaceful Yin attribute Taoist method that can be practiced all the way to the supernatural power stage. According to the chip's estimation, Chen Mo's probability of breaking through the bottleneck of the 12th level of key training by practicing this method is as high as 77%, which means that Chen Mo can go further on the immortal path. The 9 Yin Forging Pulse technique is divided into 9 levels. After each level is completed, one can have a manifest Yin spiritual vein. Once it is fully developed, even those with useless spiritual veins can manifest 9 Yin spiritual veins, which is a blessing for those with poor aptitude. Although the entire process of forging the veins is painful and consumes a lot of resources, it will gradually change the practitioner's physique, eliminate the miscellaneous spiritual veins, and finally gather 9 Yin spiritual veins to forge the purest Yin spiritual body, making the practitioner the darling of free Yin spiritual ki. Only those with great perseverance and great opportunity can practice it. In this way, the efficiency of the practitioner's absorption, transformation, and use of Qi Yuan and Yin spiritual Qi can be greatly improved, and the cultivation level will be improved faster and faster. Although the 9 Yin Forging Pulse technique does not come with powerful auxiliary spells, its combat power is far inferior to that of the same level, such as the Qi practitioners who practice the killing sword technique in the Tanya sword sect. However, Chen Mo has the enlightenment of the chip. With a little practice, he can master a large number of offensive spells. As long as he uses them in a reasonable combination, combined with the endless secrets and unorthodox methods, his comprehensive combat power will not be much worse than that of a sword cultivator. Once he achieves the body of a Yin spirit, relying on his high affinity for Yin spiritual energy, Chen Mo will become a machine that continuously outputs spells. With a vast amount of spells he can easily use, he can kill a sword cultivator with only a few broken swords. Ling. The host is born with 7 meridians, and can start practicing directly from the 7th level of the 9 Yin Meridian Casting Technique to save time. With a full harvest, Chen Mo came to the lobby on the ground floor of the Sutra Pavilion. After days of sleepless nights, Chen Mo's hair is long and his face is covered with dust. He also exudes a smell of rotten food while walking, and has a natural aura of resistance that keeps strangers away. When he came to the front desk, A handsome young man dressed as a scholar frowned in disdain and covered his nose with a yellow-covered copy of The Secret History of the Demon Sect Witches. It seemed that he couldn't stand the strong smell of Chen Mo's male hormones. "You new blood are so unruly. Don't you even wash and dress up? Although we are the demon sect, we can't relax our personal hygiene." As he said this, he stroked his chest, forcibly suppressed the urge to retch, and revealed a nameplate with outer sect disciple, Yu Cheng's engraved on it. Ling. Yu Cheng's, 3rd level of key training, Essence 3, Key Essence 3.1, Attitude, bad. I suggest the host give him a verbal lesson, so that he can get better and more meticulous service. Supplement, in the Self-Cultivation of the Demon Child, which every disciple of the Blood Robe sect has a copy, there is not a single word about personal hygiene. We do not force the disciples of the demon sect to apply flour to and dress up beautifully like Yu Cheng's, nor do we forbid them to be sloppy like the host. Yu Cheng's has fair skin, and it can be seen that he has not trained hard, but he has also improved his physical fitness under the subtle influence of spiritual energy and possesses the essence of a third-grade external martial artist. He is very well maintained, his 10 fingers are as slender as white jade, and there is a faint fragrance coming from his body. Yu Cheng's words were full of thorns, but Chen Mo pretended not to hear them. He took a big step forward, moved his body close to Yu Cheng's, and said casually, "My fellow disciple, please give me a consulting spirit disc. I want to take on the daily tasks of the know-it-all in the Sutra repository." Chen Mo's shameless words seemed to have triggered Yu Cheng's dissatisfaction. He shouted, "Everyone, come and judge for yourself. This little beggar has just been reading idle books in the Sutra repository for 3 months, and he is trying to steal food from me, the know-it-all. How ignorant of the heavens and the earth he is." After a pause, when the borrowers gathered around in groups of 3 or 2, Yu Cheng's glanced at Chen Mo with disdain, and began to show off his resume. "Seeing your brother is not good at practicing Qi, and he has only one hobby in his life, which is reading. I am familiar with every classic book in the mountains and seas of books in the Sutra repository. Fellow disciples can consult me for any materials they want to read. I can't go wrong. You are still 10 years away from being qualified for the position of the know-it-all in the Sutra repository. Moreover, this task is so popular that you need to compete for it. How can it be your turn?" Chen Mo thought for a moment and guessed that Yu Cheng's was doing something bad in secret and didn't want to assign this task to himself. "Do you really think I'm blind? There are 3 consultation spirit discs next to you. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar." Chen Mo secretly complained in his heart, but he wanted to get the consultation spirit disc even more and took on this task. With this communication talisman, as long as the borrower writes the question on the message board in the lobby of the Sutra library, Chen Mo can receive the corresponding information, give the answer, and earn sect contribution points. It can be said to be online consultation and on-call. You are lying with open eyes. In order to get better service, I, Chen's all-knowing, have to teach you a lesson. Chen Mo came up with a plan and proposed a competition that Yu Cheng's, who claimed to be an old bookworm, could not refuse. "How about this? Let the 10 brothers and sisters present ask questions, and you and I will give the reference books that best meet their requirements. By comparing the 2, it will be clear at a glance which one is better. In this way, won't we know whether I can be qualified for the position of the know-it-all in the Sutra repository?" Before Yu Cheng's accepted the challenge, his fellow disciples who were short of money started to clamor. How could they miss the opportunity to get 10 free consultations? "Cheng's, what are you still hesitating about? Let this kid see what a real scholar is. You have been in know-it-all for 5 years, what are you afraid of? Place your bets quickly. Bet on the sloppy king to win, and you will get 10 to 1. When Chen Mo heard the odds of a wealthy outer disciple, he took out all his wealth and 20 low-level spirit stones rolled in front of him. "I'm betting on myself. Dealer, don't be unable to pay even 200 yuan. Chen Mo's all-in feat stimulated Yu Cheng's. He was so angry that his eyes turned red. He took out the storage bag and put it in front of Chen Mo, saying proudly, "You bet directly with me. This storage bag is worth 100 low-level spirit stones, and there is also a yin attribute middle-level spirit stone in it. According to the exchange rate of 100, it is enough. Even according to the scarcity of yin spirit stones, the value is even higher." Chen Mo deliberately took out the yin spirit stone from the storage bag, held it in front of his eyes and carefully checked the quality. Only then did he say yes lightly under Yu Cheng's murderous gaze. The two people competed against each other, which further stimulated the speculative psychology of the gamblers of the demon sect. Therefore, most of the people in the Sutra Pavilion gathered here, and the dealer's hands were soft when collecting spirit stones. I'll go first. May I ask how our Kigen practitioners, who only have the 6th level of Kigen cultivation and 100 low-level spirit stones, can deal with the dragon energy conspiracy of the Kyanitian Empire? Quotation mark. Chapter 21 Comparing Answers with Chips? Those who get something for free are naturally the most likely to make trouble. The disciple who asked a question first chose an open-ended question, which was tailored to his own situation. If he wanted to satisfy the other party, he naturally had to rack his brains and consider all aspects of the problem, such as the method, and the choice of talismans. Yu Cheng's listened and cursed inwardly. You poor guy, you have no money and no cultivation, but you dare to go to the border of the Kyanitian Empire to thresh grass. This question will cost you at least 2 spirit stones. In order to suppress Chen Mo, Yu Cheng's raced against time to use his brain, but he didn't expect that as soon as he finished speaking, a mechanical repetition came from his side. This senior brother, I recommend, on the production process of the 1,000-mile arrow, and collision experiment of the dragon spirit and the 1,000-mile arrow, on the 30th line of the 30th shelf of the first floor of Jiazi. This kind of low-level data search problem is just a blink of an eye for the chip to calculate. Chen Mo's face was not red, and he boldly stole the calculation results of the chip, and spoke out the response plan based on long-range attack methods like a string of bullets. The excited senior brother immediately rode a cloud and fetched a pile of classics from the location Chen Mo said. With more people, the books can be flipped through quickly. After a while, a fellow disciple with similar cultivation and wealth as this senior brother nodded with satisfaction and approved this plan. Yu Cheng's panicked. This kid must have learned about this information before, that's why he answered so quickly and in such detail. Yes, that's right, he is a kid with no talent and unrealistic ambitions. He must have daydreamed of plundering resources in the Kyanitian Empire after reaching the 6th level of key training. Yu Cheng's is a scholar after all, even though he hasn't figured out the answer yet, he shamelessly pretends to be calm. In the blink of an eye, he associated several books with Chen Mo's answer, and said with a straight face, "Get, the production of 10-mile talisman, classification of dragon key. It's better than this kid's plan. Also, oral answers will affect other people's thinking, and there will be no written evidence. In order to prevent villains from repeating themselves in the future, we will answer in writing." Chen Mo saw Yu Cheng's panic, but did not expose him and followed his wishes. Okay, the warm-up question just now doesn't count. Bring me some paper and pen. I'm going to make you admit defeat with all your heart. Seeing that there was still one more chance to get something for free, no one bothered about the outcome of the previous question. Another lucky person who could ask questions for free was selected from the crowd. After completing the 10 tricky questions, the two began to answer the questions. All of a sudden, the onlookers saw the clue. Chen Mo wrote with great enthusiasm. In a moment, he wrote 10 pages of answers. For some shameless free questions that asked please write at least 2 points, Chen Mo also generously gave 2 answers. Brother Yu, if you finish writing and think your answer is better than mine, come to the 12th stone chamber of the Guru A to collect the bet. Chen Mo glanced at the sweaty Yu Cheng's, picked up the storage bag, stuffed the consultation spirit disc into it, and then whistled and wandered away from the sutra library. The fellow disciples who were already intoxicated by Chen Mo's wonderful answer seemed not to notice Yu Cheng's liver-colored expression, and praised him. Great! Why didn't I think of the method of feeding diarrhea ghost fire ants with a 3rd-grade fierce beast Shabai? Although it is not as effective as Qi Yuan and Ho Lingxi, I am short of money and this is the most economical feed I can afford. Apply phosphorus powder all over your body, and then practice the Naruto-ju to break through the level. Brother Chen, your thinking is very unique. Please accept my Wang Wuzni. Wait until I break through the small bottleneck of the 3rd level of key training and heal the skin burns caused by the phosphorus powder, and I will come to your house to thank you in person. Someone else came up, patted Yu Cheng's on the shoulder, and teased, don't be sad. Some people have a photographic memory and can even read the book in their heads. We can't compare to them. The same know-it-all in the Sutra Pavilion naturally turned over the sign of the best service. With the impressive record of winning 11 consecutive questions, many fellow disciples directly wrote their inquiries on the message board and clicked on the number 3 consultation spirit disc representing Chen Mo to answer. At first glance, there was no information under the number 1 consultation spirit disc representing Yu Cheng's, which looked extremely desolate. I don't believe it. Yu Cheng's pretty face turned pale, and he shouted and snatched Chen Mo's answer, but as his eyes moved, his face became paler and paler, and he was obviously convinced by Chen Mo's brain-opening solution. Has my hard work for half a lifetime really been in vain? At the same time, Chen Mo, humming a little tune, had returned to the goo room. He didn't have time to pay attention to the loser's muttering. On the way back, the consultation spirit disc kept flashing, and Chen Mo answered one by one. After a while, 10 contribution points were earned. They are only circulated in the blood clothes sect, and can be exchanged for spirit stones, broken mirror spirit materials, and precious talismans at a great discount. If they are not earned from fellow disciples, they can only accept sect tasks and fight for their lives, so they are extremely valuable. If Chen Mo's ability to answer questions was not recognized by others, if he wanted to earn 10 contribution points, he would have to watch the door of the goo room for a year like Zhou Fangyan. Arriving at the door, Chen Mo discovered that the dormitory manager Zhou Fangyan was still snoring on the back of the ghost fire ant. He cruelly fanned him awake with his palm as big as a cattail leaf fan and said, "Brother Zhou, I want to raise all the insects in the poison room." The latest novel is first published on Liu Nine Shuba. Chen Mo's bold words frightened Zhou Fangyan. His mouth was like a boiled duck egg. He said stupidly, "I read a few crappy books in 3 months and thought that my theory was invincible. Do I have to feed insects? If I am not careful, I will lose my pants." 10 years ago, there was a junior brother who was practicing Qi at the 9th level and borrowed money to raise insects. He lost a lot of money and could only rely on completing tasks to pay off his debts. He was unlucky and the grass on his grave was half a person tall. Zhou Fangyan explained the current situation of the goo room earnestly. This area is rich in yin spirit energy, which is very suitable for the growth of fierce insects such as ghost fire ants. Many disciples will foster their insect pets here and pay them. Of course, there are also those who covet the rich yin spirit energy here. Even if they sleep with insects, they will stay in the goo room. Chen Mo can be counted as one of them. But compared with other larger-scale sect-owned breeding farms, the goo room is not competitive enough, and the individual households who dare to contract it are not very skilled. After several years of tossing, it has smashed the signboard and is now in a semi-abandoned stage. In recent years, almost no one has settled here, and no insects have been raised. Whoever takes over this hot potato will die. Zhou Fangyan grabbed Chen Mo's hands and advised earnestly, "Brother, I have made up my mind." The familiar answer reminded Zhou Fangyan of the scene when this kid settled here 3 months ago. Chen Mo's black face was as firm as ever, and his eyes were bright. Glancing at the consultation spirit plate in his hand, Zhou Fangyan actually had 3 points of nonsensical confidence, and nodded with difficulty, "Hey, junior brother Chen, come with me." A stone room, inside which a ghost fire ant was hissing. It seemed very irritable, constantly rhyming against the stone wall, and didn't feel a headache. Books are shallow, and you must practice to know this matter. Junior brother, turn theory into practice, cure the strange disease of this ghost fire ant, and the goo room will be contracted to you. How much you earn depends on yourself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Male Castration. Link. Scan completed. Will-o'-the-wisp fire ant. Male. Status. Estrus. Diagnosis. Incomplete castration. Treatment plan. Cut it again. No worries. With the analysis of the chip, Chen Mo also saw that something was wrong with this will-o'-the-wisp fire ant. In addition to hitting the wall from time to time, it also pressed its lower abdomen tightly against the wall, rubbing it up and down repeatedly, and the insect mouth made a hissing sound with a sense of relief. Sure enough, there is no problem with the breeding of will-o'-the-wisp fire ants that cannot be solved with one cut. If there is, then cut it again. Chen Mo nodded and prepared to castrate this poor bug again. However, Chen Mo was unable to control this irritable bug without injury, so he could only shamelessly beg Zhou Fangyan, "Brother, give me a hand and hold it down, okay?" Sighing, Zhou Fangyan stretched out his 10 fat fingers like carrot heads, waved them up and down, and condensed a huge earth cage in the air. Freeing his left hand, Zhao Chengjue took out a universal token and opened the stone door. Before the irritable fire ant could rush out with a wolf cry, it was hit by the earthen cage that hit it in the face, making it dizzy and covered tightly on the ground. With a low shout of bundle, the earthen cage deformed and separated into multiple stone pillars. With a slight bend, it locked each of the fire ant's limbs. It wanted to spit out a mouthful of acid from its mouth, but Zhao Chengjue, who was quick-eyed and quick-handed, sealed its mouth with a ball of mud that he had just summoned. The fire ant struggled for a long time before collapsing on the ground and stopped moving. The target's physical strength is exhausted, you can castrate it with confidence. The fire ant has a strong vitality. An ordinary wound infection will not kill it, so Chen Mo omitted the disinfection step and directly broke open its last two insect legs with his bare hands. In the center, there is a thin catheter, the target of this castration, which has just emerged from the cover of the lower abdomen insect meat, which can be said to be the tip of the lotus just showing its tip. Zhao Chengjue, who had been observing the operation, saw the ghost fire ant twisting its body desperately, trying to retract the catheter that was broken into half of its lower abdomen. He also reacted and exclaimed, "You have a really sharp eye. If I didn't know that you, junior brother Chen, were born in a marquis's family, I would have thought you were the master of the palace's clean room." Desolate mist and rain. Chen Mo used the signature technique of the Yinling Meikigan practitioner. A layer of hazy gray mist spread out. Under Chen Mo's conscious control, it only gathered 3 inches above the ghost fire ant's lower abdomen, covering an area smaller than a fingernail. Then the mist descended, and as the ghost fire ant trembled, it covered every inch of its remaining catheter. As soon as Chen Mo activated his Qi Yuan, the mist and rain boiled up, erasing the existence of the catheter at a speed visible to the naked eye. The ghost fire ant, which had lost its male proof, let out a shrill whine, and then fainted in shame. Hiss, this micro-manipulation is pretty good. Junior brother, why are you still running an insect breeding farm? With this perfect castration skill, you can make a living in the outer sect like me, senior brother. Senior brother, transfer the door opening authority and tasks to me. When Chen Mo connected his stone chamber bronze plate with Zhao Chengjue bronze plate, he found that there was an additional long-term task on it, which was listed under the job task of the scripture pavilion by Xiaoshen. As soon as the mind touched this column, the overview of the Gu room appeared. It's so pitiful, there are only 3 ghost fire ants left, and there are still a lot of stone chambers to clean. Zhao Chengjue scratched his head embarrassedly and apologized, "You can't blame it, senior brother, it's your predecessor's fault. My position as a dormitory manager didn't say that I had to help take care of the stone chambers." After that, Zhao Chengjue took a step with his thick legs and went straight back to the warm ant's back to catch up on sleep. Chen Mo began the huge stone chamber cleaning project. After working for most of the day, the diligent excrement shoveler found a lot of relics of the passers-by in the insect's excrement, a stack of broken talismans, which had lost all their spiritual energy and were useless. Half of the blade of a spiritual sword that could be used by warriors, which would probably be bought by a warrior servant at the high price of selling his body for a year. There were also ghost fire ant eggs, a black mass, and no one knew whether they could hatch into anything. The revitalization plan for the insect farm has been formulated, and the estimated startup capital is 110 low-level spiritual stones, and the purposes, purchasing larvae and nutritious vegetation. The promotion plan is as follows. It is expected to achieve a daily profit rate of 0.5% within 3 months, and recover the cost. After purchasing the ingredients, Chen Mo first inspected the other 2 healthy ghost fire ants and found that they were a pair and lived together. He realized that the mating sounds he heard when he first moved into the stone chamber were made by them. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. With them, there will be a bunch of ghost fire ant larvae in the future. In order to breed, Chen Mo gave up the idea of moving the castrated ghost fire ants near their stone chamber. After all, people should be kind and consider their twisted psychology when facing the sweet world of 2 insects of the same kind. The responsibility of expanding the Gu Room team will fall on you 2. Across the stone fence, Chen Mo smiled like an old father to the 2 ghost fire ants who were still warm. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Then he added double the insect fun grass to their food troughs, wishing them to have children soon. Afterwards, Chen Mo soaked all the eggs in a pool of mixed liquid, without distinguishing between dead and live eggs. The humidity is 23%, The concentration of culture medium and yin spirit energy meets the standard, and the predicted egg hatching rate is 10%, which takes 123 hours. Do your best and leave it to fate. Chen Mo sat cross-legged beside the insect eggs and began to practice. Anyway, the control of the entire goo room was under Chen Mo's control. He could sleep in any stone room he wanted, except for the stone door. Zhou Fanggang still controlled the door. I don't have the freedom of spiritual stones, but I can still have the freedom of housing. Chen Mo smiled. As a new blood who had just joined the demon sect, he was very satisfied with the vast territory of the goo room. Then he began to experience the wonders of the 9 yin forging veins. This book has a unique Qiyuan running route. It is based on the explicit yin spiritual veins and strengthens the practitioner's attraction to free yin spiritual energy. In the gloomy environment of the goo room, Chen Mo is like a cluster of bright flames, attracting yin spiritual energy factors to rush to him like moths to a flame. It is recommended that the host wash the veins, which can reduce the time to reach the 9th level of the 9 yin forging veins. The human body model established by the chip showed that as more and more yin spiritual energy was absorbed on Chen Mo's body surface, red and khaki spots appeared in some areas of his chest, representing Chen Mo's hidden fire spiritual veins and hidden earth spiritual veins. Against the gray-black tones of Chen Mo's 7 yin spiritual veins, these 2 spots of light are very conspicuous. They are firmly rooted in Chen Mo's body, stubbornly resisting the yin spiritual qi from penetrating from their territory into Chen Mo's qi, and also absorbing a certain amount of free earth spiritual qi and fire spiritual qi. Under the 3D particle vision, Chen Mo only felt that these 2 non-black areas were particularly eye-catching, but there was no way to eradicate them. Washing the veins means stripping off the hidden spirit veins, or purifying the hidden spirit veins to the extent of 100% manifestation through external means such as natural treasures, special exercises, and elixirs. The options are as follows. After Chen Mo understood, he found that he could not meet the conditions for washing the veins for the time being, so he suppressed his dissatisfaction with the 2 useless spirit veins and closed his eyes to concentrate on absorbing the yin spiritual qi. Compared to the common foundation-building qi training method he had practiced before, Chen Mo's qi felt swollen in just half an instant of time. The inner wall of the qi was stretched painfully by the surging spiritual energy, so he cut off the injection of spiritual energy and carefully converted them into Qiyuan. In the dark mist of yin qi, the 7 spiritual veins behind Chen Mo seemed to have grown stronger. The yin spiritual vein on the far left had a fork that was faintly growing, ready to move. Chapter 23 Warriors, Cheap Labor? When Chen Mo woke up the next day, he felt his body lighten as he stood up. It seemed that a majestic energy was gushing out of his sea of qi. He retrieved the chip data and found that his intuition was indeed very accurate. Host Chen Mo, 2nd level qi practitioner, 3.5 essence, 2.1 qi, status, healthy. According to the chip calculation, the 12th level of qi training is only divided by the amount of qi, with 1.0 qi as 1 level, which is very simple. The first time he practiced the 9 yin meridian casting technique, he made great progress and unknowingly crossed the 2.0 threshold. However, due to Chen Mo's high basic value of essence, the effect of yin spiritual energy on physical fitness was weakened a lot, which was a little regrettable. After a night of nourishment with nutrient solution, the eggs did not change much, but the 2 couples were still sleeping after exercising all night. Chen Mo filled the trough and set off for the market. The market of the blood clothes sect was opened on the tidal flat. Because there was too much silt, Chen Mo simply used the cloud flying technique to pad his feet with a thin layer of gray cloud to avoid dirtying his shoes. Learning from the lesson of being ridiculed by Yu Cheng's in the sutra library, Chen Mo began to pay attention to personal hygiene. He didn't need to make a nice and fragrant look, as long as he was clean. He took a cold shower after getting up early. After becoming a Qigong practitioner, the trivial things in life are much easier. Chen Mo found that some simple little tricks can greatly simplify the troubles in life. For example, a water gathering technique can wash away the dirt on the whole body, and then summon a cluster of flames to dry the clothes. These little tricks are a simple use of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even if you don't have the corresponding attribute hidden spiritual veins, you can use them successfully by consuming a little more Qiyuan. Therefore, Chen Mo asked the chip to copy a copy to his memory. When I have spiritual stones in the future, I can also buy a talisman robe with a built-in dust removal function, which is even more convenient. Chen Mo's laziness is endless. Walking on the road, he happily imagined the future. The market in the early morning was not lively, and there were few hawking sounds. After all, the Blood Robe sect is a demon sect, and most of them are night owls. Chen Mo had just joined, and his biological clock had not yet turned around, so he missed the night market where demons and ghosts were dancing and walking at night. However, with the depth of his storage bag, he could not afford the consumption at the night market, and the cheap goods at the morning market were just right. He came to a martial arts talent show where people were selling their heads. Chen Mo more clearly realized the low status of martial arts servants in the immortal sect, whether they were righteous or demonic. 3 short-sleeved men, wearing single clothes, showed their strong upper limb muscles in the cold morning breeze, and put the price of their bodies in front of them. It was so cheap that Chen Mo seriously suspected that the 3 of them had joined forces to maliciously lower the market price. A high-level martial arts internal energy training method. Offer 3 years of service. If you get disabled, you don't have to pay for medical expenses. A spiritual weapon. Sell yourself for 1 year, and you can accept human drug experiments from martial artists. I'm begging for a flesh inscription that can increase my essence. Even if the lifespan of the inscription is more than 10 years, it's acceptable. Remuneration, lifelong service. If I die, I beg you to take care of my secular descendants. With my son's martial arts talent, it's just around the corner for him to reach the 7th level of condensation. He will definitely follow in my footsteps and serve you better. In the eyes of the high-level monks of the Blood Robe sect, menial servants are just leeks that can be harvested every year. They don't even get the benefit of free reading of classics in the sutra library. So there's a funny scene. In order to recruit martial arts slaves, the Kigen disciples have to go to the sutra library, where reading is free, to apply for a martial arts secret book that can be passed on, and pay a few low-level spirit stones. Insect laborers, loyalty is the first priority. It is recommended that the host choose the 3rd warrior with the most verbose quotation. Chen Mo looked at the middle-aged warrior with gray hair. He had thick fingers and seemed to have practiced some kind of external power palm technique. His cultivation was not bad. He was at the 7th level of condensation gang, but his physical body had passed its peak period and his blood and ki began to decline. Wang Fengnian, Essence. 5.3, Internal Breath. 7.4, the second strongest among the 3 warriors who sold themselves, but the first in combat power. You can restore your physical body to its peak period by taking blood and ki grass and the essence of deep-sea turtles. Chen Mo stopped at the stall selling bodies. Although the 3 warriors showed a strong desire in their eyes, the gap in status between warriors and ki practitioners made them dare not recommend themselves boldly. Old Wang, there is a certain failure rate when engraving the inscription on your back to increase your essence. I can't give you this reward. But there is another way to restore your vitality and blood in your prime, and there is still the possibility of further progress in the future. What do you think? Chen Mo pondered for a moment and offered his bottom price to Wang Fengnian. With the help of the chip, Chen Mo has now become a versatile master in all fields such as refining tools, refining pills, drawing talismans, and raising insects. He is a theoretical mouth cannon king for the time being. Even if it is a cultivator in the supernatural power period, in terms of knowledge reserves, it is definitely not Chen Mo's opponent. The plan he tailored for Wang Fengnian is almost the optimal solution. I thought that old Wang would consider it, but he nodded directly, signed the contract, picked up the luggage beside him, and followed with his head bowed. Old Wang, I am just a new blood who has just entered the door. Aren't you afraid that I will cheat you? Chen Mo always has a persecution delusion of the people want to harm me, so he spoke to test Wang Fengnian. After all, according to Chen Mo's simple understanding, with Wang Fengnian's Ningen cultivation, he could be made a Marquis and Prime Minister in his hometown Jinan Kingdom, and he could be brothers with his father Chen Dingman. Master Chen, you are joking. It is my blessing to be favored by a Kigen practitioner. For inner disciples, if you are not a top warrior, they will not even look at you. Wang Fengnian humbly explained the reason and revealed the cruel world of the lower-level warriors. The latest novels are first published on liujishu.com. For the warriors on the west coast, there are 2 ways out, the generals of the Kyanigan Empire or the slaves of the Immortal Gate. Joining the vast secular empire, although you can have a group of slaves, a mansion and concubines, and enjoy the treatment of a prince with fine clothes and food, the possibility of improving your cultivation is very small. Because dragon energy is an external object, It can only repel spiritual energy and eliminate magic, and cannot be used to improve the cultivation of warriors. No matter how high your status in the Kainigan Empire is, after 100 years, you will be like a mortal who has no power to bind a concubine, and turn into a pile of yellow soil. This is the iron rule that those who eat dragon energy are not immortals, and even the Kainigan Emperor cannot break this curse. For all living beings, if they want to live forever, there is only one way out, the Immortal Gate. Like the Kigan scum of the Suoxin division, once they touch the dragon energy, no matter how much they help the tiger, they will never be able to go further on the immortal path. Therefore, those who join the Kainigan Empire are often from the background of casual cultivation, or poor people who can't make it in both the righteous and the evil ways. Wang Fengnian wanted to live a few more years, but he was too ignorant and thought that engraving inscriptions on the flesh was the right way. If it weren't for Chen Mo's kind reminder, he would only go further and further on the road to death. Thank you for clearing up my doubts, sir. All rewards are decided by sir. I will be loyal to you. Chen Mo enjoyed Wang Fengnian's flattery, and his heart was full of absurdity. He just joined the Immortal sect and became a second-level Kigan practitioner. This warrior, who was almost as powerful as his father, was willing to work hard for him. The world of the subcontinent is too small to accommodate a dragon like me. The throne of Jinian is just a 45-degree angle. He found that the sky of the demon sect was so vast, as if waiting for him to rise up and change the world. Old Wang, you can just call me Lord from now on. I will only be 13 years old this new year. The word sir sounds old. You don't have to call yourself little man. Just call me me. Wang Fengnian nodded and said yes, but he was even more respectful. He wasted 5 years in the blood cloth sect and saw a lot of new blood. But it is rare to find someone like Chen Mo who has the spare time and money to drive warriors to do chores and do great things right after entering the profession. Wang Fengnian estimated that Chen Mo's future achievements would be limitless. The merit of following the dragon is greater than heaven. If you serve him well, my Wang family may be able to produce an 8th grade Yunshin or even a 9th grade Shineman top warrior. Wang Fengnian found a new employer, and his hunched body straightened up by 3 points. Chapter 24. Use the right people and win their hearts. Brother, give me a meal to nourish the essence and replenish the blood. Put more omnivorous sea turtle meat with cold attributes. It must be at least the 3rd level of key training. Give me a blood-activating soup. Chen Mo led Wang Fengnian to the blood canteen and spent 5 low-level spirit stones to order 2 monster meals. Although the entire canteen is in cold colors, the tables and chairs exude a hint of coldness, and it is arranged like a demon cave. The food provided is full of spiritual energy and warms the stomach. 2 small bowls of thick soup, floating with hair-thick monster meat slices, crystal clear, reflecting the superb knife skills of the 6th level key training chef. In the demon sect, as long as you are willing to spend spirit stones, you can also experience the delicious taste on your tongue. The taste is not inferior to secular delicacies, and the spiritual energy and medicinal characteristics of the ingredients make it even more precious. Therefore, not many disciples eat in the blood canteen. Although the pills with the same effect don't taste very good, the price is 10% cheaper. In order to save money, many people will mix the pills with secular delicacies, which not only ensures nutrition but also satisfies the appetite. Wang Fengnian was very uneasy when he entered and exited the special canteen for Kigan practitioners. The fragrance of the meal soup in front of him was overflowing, which was equivalent to the money he earned from selling his body for 8 or 9 years, but he didn't dare to eat it. He sat opposite Chen Mo and swallowed his saliva eagerly. My junior brother, don't spend too many spirit stones on warrior slaves. Investing in yourself is the right way. An outer disciple who was serving the hall kindly reminded Chen Mo that he was not doing well. He was over 30 years old but was still at the 3rd level of Kigan. Of course, he couldn't stand the fact that a mere errand boy could enjoy such delicious food. Of course, a gentleman should be careful not to talk about deep things with people he just met. He only mentioned it and went to do his own thing. It's okay, old Wang. This meal is my advance payment. Bring out the martial arts you practiced and let me modify them. The root cause of your premature aging of ki and blood is still the improper operation of internal breath. The demon disciples that Wang Fengnian served before were all arrogant people. Today, he was treated with such courtesy, and his heart was warmed. Although he was over 50 years old, he had the impulse of a young man to die for his confidant. The master is really a master of both immortal and martial arts. Old Wang, I admire you. Wang Fengnian was not worried that Chen Mo would embezzle his family's unique skills, and took out a piece of worn parchment from his arms. The chip only scanned it a few times and found no less than 10 details. Chen Mo recited it truthfully, which made Wang Fengnian admire the master's insight even more. If you follow the new route to move your blood and qi, and take this bowl of dietary soup, the hidden injuries on your elbows and lower abdomen will not be so uncomfortable. After a while, I will prescribe a prescription. If you follow it for 6 months, your blood and qi will be restored to their original state. Chen Mo also complained about Lao Wang's precious skills. Alice, I thought the martial arts skills of Xiangfang continent were so exquisite, but they are about the same as the black turtle locking essence sutra passed down from my family. It's so disappointing. Wang Fengnian corrected the mistakes in the skills and answered, the immortal gate is high above, and it will not care about the development of the martial arts world of the secular countries under its jurisdiction. However, it is said that the Kainigan Empire has more exquisite martial arts. Fearing that he would anger Chen Mo, Lao Wang added, but no matter how strong the martial arts are, they are not as good as the Kigan masters above the 9th level. The power of flying with flying tools and instantly casting low-level spells is not something that ordinary people like us can resist. Chen Mo smiled and did not refute. Old Wang's vision is still too narrow, or maybe he is in the demon sect, and the powerful Kigan practitioners have worn away the indomitable spirit of warriors, so he is respectful to every Kigan disciple. If he had Wang Shuo's mentality, he would be angry, and with his strength as a 7th-grade condensed Yang warrior, he could also make the unguarded Kigan practitioners below the 9th level bleed 5 steps away. But it's okay this way. He is weak and has the bond of his son. As long as I reward and punish clearly, it will be easy for him to die. Chen Mo was born in the Jingnan Marcus mansion. Although he and the prince are brothers from the same mother and have a good relationship, he has seen a lot of intrigues in the mansion, and he has mastered an excellent skill of controlling subordinates at a young age. There is also a chip to detect lies on the side, so it is easy to control a small condensed Yang warrior. According to the inference of the chip, the Kainigan Empire can resist the 1,000-year offensive of the orthodox demon immortal sect. There must be a higher existence that surpasses the 9-rank Heavenly Gate warriors. It's just that such secrets are not accessible to me with my current authority. Such secrets are not included in the Sutra library. This is also a means for the Blood Robe sect to stabilize people's hearts. Not counting the huge number of warriors, the position of the pseudo-spiritual outer disciples alone is the basic base that the Blood Robe sect has to maintain. Because this group of disciples with extremely poor qualifications can't see the hope of longevity for more than 300 years of supernatural power period, they are likely to give up key training and are willing to become the minions of the Dragon Court, changing a path to fight for existence above the warriors. Therefore, on the one hand, the Blood Robe sect publicly disclosed the sect's secrets to show the bottom disciples that the demon sect does not judge heroes by their qualifications. On the other hand, it concealed various secrets to prevent the bottom disciples from having other thoughts. How, without a large number of low-level outer disciples who practice Qi, how can we raise Gu? How can we free the inner disciples who have great potential for supernatural powers from low-end affairs? How can we collect a large number of low-level cultivation resources? Even if we go to war with the Kainigan Empire and the Righteous Path, we still need a large number of cannon fodder to make up the numbers. It is not possible to let the cultivators with supernatural powers take action every time, right? Chen Mo picked up a piece of unknown monster meat in the blood-activating soup and thought, maybe this ingredient was caught by a fellow 3rd-level Qi cultivator at the cost of being disabled. But no matter how miserable the lower-level Qi cultivators are, it has nothing to do with me. The plan to raise insects will succeed soon. The mere spirit stones will come rolling in. I don't need to bleed and sacrifice bitterly. I can rely on the vast resources to pile up my cultivation to the supernatural power stage. Chen Mo will not have the stupid idea of reforming the sect and helping the lower-level disciples. As long as he lives a comfortable life, he doesn't care about the flood outside. I have to say, this soup tastes good. Chen Mo savored the delicious taste of the mellow meat aroma blooming on the tip of his tongue. After considering the returns of alchemy, refining, drawing talismans, and raising insects, Chen Mo finally confirmed, in the long run, raising insects is not bad. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Considering that those who have succeeded in the first 3 have all wasted a large amount of raw materials in the early stage. If Chen Mo is guided by the chip, he can easily achieve a success rate of 80 to 90%, which may attract the attention of the sect's top leaders. Chen Mo didn't want to be too evil, so he chose the long-term industry of raising insects in a low-key manner. With a bowl of meat soup, Chen Mo bribed Lao Wang and made him tearful. On the path back to the guroom, Chen Mo noticed that Wang Fengnian hesitated to speak several times, so he asked with a pleasant face, "Old Wang, since you and I have signed a contract to sell ourselves, we can be regarded as sharing honor and disgrace. Is there anything we can't talk about? If a fellow disciple embarrasses you, it's not a big deal. I can help you solve it." The faint magic sound rang out, containing a faint bewitching power, but Wang Fengnian didn't notice it. Chen Mo secretly used the yin spirit to vibrate the vocal cords, which could have the effect of shaking the soul of mortals. Combined with the reasonable words, it really brought out a secret hidden in Wang Fengnian's heart. "My lord, the warriors in the sect actually have some small circles. Among the people I know, there is an errand boy who operates the leech and is responsible for ferrying people between the Sea Cliff Mountain Gate and the Mudflats. I found that he has been very close to New Blood recently, but it doesn't seem like a master-servant relationship. I guess there may be some secrets between the two of them." Through Wang Fengnian's oral narration, Chen Mo manipulated the strands of yin spiritual energy and sketched several faces in the air. Since the chip automatically records the people Chen Mo meets, the database is very comprehensive and the search for suspicious targets is very fast. Wang Fengnian was shocked by Chen Mo's delicate spiritual energy sketch, and then quickly came to his senses and identified two people. One of them was Ren Jun, who was taught a lesson by the talisman on the cross-sea giant ship that day. With his talent for wasting spiritual veins, he is destined to be a low-level key practitioner for life. Chen Mo has hitchhiked with a ferryman several times when he went to and from the Sutra Library. As for his name, Chen Mo, a small warrior, certainly would not ask. Did the two know each other before? That's not right. Before Renjun entered the sect, he didn't even know the power of the talisman and was beaten by Hu Guang. How could he have a relationship with Xianfang continent? Ordinary outer disciples don't have extra spirit stones to hire cheap and powerful warriors, and inner disciples don't look down on the little combat power of warriors. Except for pharmacists and inscription masters who do experiments, no disciples will have nothing to do and contact warriors repeatedly. Therefore, although the outer disciples and warriors live in the surface area of the sect, they live in two parallel worlds. The reasoning ends. The probability that the two are gay is 45%. The probability that the ferryman is a secret spy of Longting and instigates Renjun to rebel is 23%. The probability that the ferryman is impressed by Renjun's training and martial arts talent and voluntarily recognizes his master is 12%. Insufficient information, please provide more detailed clues. Chen Mo shook his head and signaled Wang Fengnian not to care about them. As long as the two of them don't affect me. Chen Mo is not a curious baby who wants to know everything. Anyway, in the worst case of rebellion, the blood-robed Kigan practitioners of the discipline hall will clean up the mess, and Chen Mo can't do anything about it. Chapter 25 Ecological Pond Renovation Plan. Old Wang, you should follow this schedule and feed strictly. With a stone door blocking you, the fire ants can't hurt you. As for the corresponding feed, I will prepare it in advance. Also, I have written down the method for dealing with this pile of eggs. You can follow the same method. There is no problem. Finally, there are various special situations. You should learn about it. The chip has powerful computing power and takes all the details into consideration. Therefore, Chen Mo directly handed over some physical work of cultivation and feeding that does not require spiritual energy to Wang Fengnian, which greatly reduced his burden. Of course, Chen Mo also took into account Old Wang's health and earned another wave of cheap touching. Old Wang, the concentration of yin spiritual energy in the Gu room is relatively high. Even if you are a 7th grade condensation warrior, it is easy for your blood and ki to decline if you stay here for a long time. I suggest you go out and bask in the sun every 2 hours. Chen Mo also threw him a cheap prescription. This is a folk remedy for maintaining essence. It doesn't cost a low-level spiritual stone. You can use this ghost fire ant leg to go to the market to buy a lot of medicine. Remember to take the medicine regularly, and don't stop. After instructing the cheap labor to feed the insects, Chen Mo began to cultivate the medicinal garden and the underground pond. According to the chip's plan, relying on the basin terrain of the Gurum, a so-called base pond ecological agriculture cycle insect, fish and grass three-dimensional breeding farm can be built. This long scientific term, no matter how the chip explains it, Chen Mo can't understand it, but it is not a problem to operate it. The chip also considerately calculates the strength of each swing of the hoe, which is referred to as foolproof operation. Chen Mo took out the talisman spiritual hoe, daily necessities, spiritual attack power can be ignored, but the price is inflated, that he bought for 10 low-level spiritual stones from the storage bag. After a little exercise, he raised his hands high and dropped the spiritual hoe down fiercely. With a bang, a small pit was dug out of the hard ground of the guroom without a single crack. Leaning down to observe the ground carefully, Chen Mo discovered that this place was somewhat different from the farmland on the surface. Under the erosion of yin spirits for many years, the soil underground was already gray and black. When he smelled it closely, he could smell a strong stench, just like the stench of corpses that permeated the air above a large cemetery. This was the famous yin mud in the underground world, a habitat loved by filthy creatures. I didn't expect there to be a thin layer of yin mud under the guroom. Fortunately, there wasn't much, otherwise this place would have become a paradise for demons and monsters. Chen Mo was amazed, and poked the yin mud with his finger, only to find that it was unusually cold. He also discovered that there were weeds with extremely strong vitality growing inside, with roots deep underground, gathering a large number of stones and silt together, as if they were bowing as one. The concentration of yin spirit energy around this yin mud has increased by 0.01 percentage points. Chen Mo pondered for a moment and calculated that as long as the hole was used well and the guroom was turned upside down, the yin spirit energy in the yin mud would definitely turn this place into a yin attribute paradise that was no less than the sea cliff of the blood-clothed gate. It is not recommended for the host to do this. Turning over a large amount of yin mud will destroy the environment of the guroom. After 3 months, the yin spirit energy will drop significantly, which is not suitable for the development of the base pond. The chip dispelled Chen Mo's bad idea of digging 3 feet into the ground. After just swinging the hoe, Chen Mo's hands were slightly painful due to the recoil force. After estimating the area of the guroom, he realized the workload of loosening the soil inside deeply. But before raising insects, loosening the soil is a necessary task. To raise yin attribute insects and beasts like the ghost fire ant, a comfortable geological environment is essential. Only the surface soil containing yin mud can make them feel comfortable, and then raise them to be fat and white and sell them at a high price. Therefore, just hiring outer disciples to loosen the soil regularly would cost a lot of spiritual stones and contribution points. This is the human cost that caused the previous insect farm owners to lose money. But in the chip's base pond design, all problems are not problems. As long as a large number of mudgrass carps, a common herbivorous fish in the near sea, are raised, they are the strength of a third-grade fierce beast and are good at swallowing mud and sand, the fish pond can produce a large amount of silt every day. Using these natural pond muds to irrigate the soil of the guroom can create a soil texture similar to yin mud, deceive the perception of low-level insect beasts, make them feel happy, and save a lot of expenses. At the same time, the pond mud can also maintain the fertility of the lower layer of yin mud and maintain the standard yin spiritual energy concentration. The excrement of the ghost fire ant contains weak spiritual energy factors, which is a good feed for cold fierce fish, and it also saves the trouble of carrying mudgrass carp feed every day. As for the spiritual grass planted, the chip chose yinling mulberry, and the mulberry leaves produced are very suitable for the special taste of ghost fire ants, and can also thrive in the soil mixed with the yin mud. In this way, a closed energy cycle is formed: yinling mulberry leaves, ghost fire ants, excrement, mudgrass carp, silt, yinling mulberry leaves. This base pond system requires very little manpower and feeding. It can be taken care of by Lao Wang, a mortal warrior. Of course, after the simple ecosystem is stable, Chen Mo can also add some private goods, such as planting economic crops with higher value and raising high-level demon insects. The Great Wall begins with a single step, and the beginning is difficult. Chen Mo looked at the thick soil under his feet and sighed. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. The magnificent wealth-making base pond requires Chen Mo to lay a good foundation at first. Since he had spent most of his spiritual stones on ordering fire ant larvae, mature yinling mulberry trees, and mudgrass carp fry, Chen Mo was short of money and had to do the physical work of digging mud by himself. After all, warriors cannot use talismans to release spiritual energy, so they cannot break the yin mud soil. Chen Mo injected Qi Yuan into the spiritual hoe, and the pointed hoe emitted a layer of hazy gray light, attracting a large amount of yin spiritual energy. After this hoe went down, Chen Mo felt that the resistance he encountered was obviously much smaller. With a flick of his wrist, Chen Mo skillfully used the high-frequency vibration technique to break the nearby yin mud with the hoe, and lifted it up, bringing out a large pile of mud and sand. Compared with the previous reckless work, the mud pit dug was more than 5 times larger. Chen Mo found the trick, and under the guidance of the chip, he gradually dug down and dug many fish ponds. Whenever he was tired and his hands were swollen like carrots, Chen Mo would put down the spiritual hoe, move his body, and put on a posture like a monkey with arms outstretched, and perform a set of kick and boxing techniques one by one, while reciting a piece of erotic music. This is an unknown side or secret technique. If it weren't for the powerful memory function of the chip, no one in the blood robe sect would know of its existence. The effect is to relieve the body that has overdrawn its ki yuan. Chen Mo immersed himself in this slow-paced old man's boxing. After doing it 10 times in one breath, his whole body was steaming. After an incense stick of time, his red and swollen arms had recovered to normal. Not only that, his physical fatigue had disappeared without a trace, but instead he had an invisible force, and he wanted to pick up the hoe and work for another 3 days and 3 nights. It's a pure illusion. It's all what you think, host. The physical fatigue value has reached the warning line of 97%. Please put down the spiritual hoe immediately and rest. The analysis is complete. The sequelae of this unknown boxing technique is abnormal perception, which lasts for 27 minutes and does not harm the body. Please rest assured, host. In this way, Chen Mo dug the mud in the goo room silently for a full 15 days, and finally laid the foundation of the base pond. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.